Hello everyone, welcome back to the Spiritual Social. I'm Lexi and I'm super excited to have you guys today for the second part of your past life story. This has been one of my most requested, loved, commented, debated videos on this channel. Now I'm talking about your past life love story, but in this one I want to make it a little bit broader and I want to tackle the wholeness of your past life. We'll see how this goes, okay guys? So I'll be looking at spirituality or relationship with parents or the epoch in which you lived. We'll see what pops up. The tarot and oracle cards, well, their beauty, and part of their beauty is the fact that they bring us completely unexpected messages. Okay, guys, so you have a choice today between 6 rings. In the previous video, which I urge you to have a look at if you haven't so far, it's super fun. At least that's what you guys told me. We did bracelets, okay? We had a choice of bracelets, but in this one, we have a choice of rings. So we have here pile number 1, a gold starfish ring. Pile number 2, this silver square ring. Pile number 3, a turquoise brass ring. Pile number 4, a brass amethyst ring. Pile number 5, a gold black stone ring. I think this is a Druze or Druze. And last but not least, pile number 6, the silver leaf ring. Okay guys, so please make your choice based on your intuition and not necessarily your eyes. I know that you might be drawn to a certain type of ring. You might be drawn to more than one. Feel free to choose that. It could be that you had more than one lifetime and this is why perhaps more than one option speaks to you, okay? So follow that beautiful intuition that I know resides within yourself. And if you made your choice, then I'll see you at your pile. So excited. Bye. Hi, pile number 1. How are you guys? I hope this finds you well. So excited to be bringing you this. I hope the excitement can be transmitted to you as well and it just brightens your day. So this is for those of you that were drawn to this gold starfish ring. This is one of my favorite rings. I love to wear it. I am going to pull some cards right now. I'm going to shuffle from a specific tarot deck. So for each pile, I will have a different tarot deck. For you guys, I'm choosing the Nicoletta Ciccoli Gorgeous Tarot. And I also have some cards I pre-shuffled, some oracle cards that I'm going to get into at the end of the reading to try to see some overall messages of how could you maybe bring, like, what kind of wisdom, what kind of wisdom are you bringing from a past life into your present lifetime? So maybe give you some tips as to what spirit kind of encourages you to do in your current present lifetime based on your past life experience. I hope that makes sense. Whoosh. Okay, I'm a bit in a funny mood. The moon is in Libra today, so you know. Anyway, so let's do this. The Nicoletta Ciccoli Tarot. Okay. Pile number 1. Who were they in a past life? Pile number 1. Whoa, I'm getting Egypt. Woo. Whoa, I don't know, it's like, it came all over me. Oh my God, it's like, I'm hearing the word Anubis, the god of death, the god that looked almost like he had the face of a dog, of a dark dog or of a wolf. Definitely, I see a lot of sunlight and a lot of plants growing on the edge of the Nile. Okay, so this is something about a past life in Egypt. Let me show you the cards that fell out for you. So we have the Two of Swords, walking a fine line, being on a tightrope. We have the Fool, taking a risk, having to be brave. Okay, wow, we have the King of Pentacles, wealth and prosperity, abundance. Wow, it's like so powerful. And then we have the Eight of Cups, having to walk away from something emotionally draining, painful. Temperance, being in connection with the divine, the realm of heaven, being under angelic protection. You guys were priests in a past life. You definitely served in some sort of temple in Egypt. I'm not getting the Hierophant here, but I do want to pull one more card for you guys, just to clarify if this is a... Because I'm getting two things. So I'm getting that potentially some of you had a past life in Egypt where you were either soldiers or protectors of a temple. So you were on the outside looking in to these religious processions, kind of helping a figure of authority like a priest or a priestess prepare a lot of things like prepare offerings, prepare sacrifices, prepare ablutions. You were in charge of keeping people away from entering the temple and making sure who kind of enters the temple at the right time. It's kind of like the modern day equivalent of a bouncer in front of a club, but you were in front of a temple. I think that, okay, the final card that came out as well is the Seven of Pentacles. Having your feet in many different pots, having to do a lot of covert activity, underhanded activities. Oh my God, oh my God, I know what this activity was about. Oh, okay, this is really strange. It's coming like it's flooding. Okay, so I'm getting more that you guys were the, not really the priests, but more like the people that were guarding a temple. And I think that what happened is that you were, because you were in charge of guarding this temple, there were a lot of burials happening, right? Dead people were brought into the temple to be sanctified, to be mummified, and then to be buried. And I think that a lot of people were actually paying you money to enter covertly into the temple. So they're basically bribing you so that you would allow them to enter into the temple at night and potentially leave artifacts on the body of the dead person, or to take some artifacts from the body of the dead person. If you remember, or if you guys are familiar with Egypt, if you remember, yeah, because you had a past life in Egypt. Egyptians love to bring a lot of riches into the sarcophagus of people that died, especially wealthy people, took a lot of their material possessions with them in the afterlife, because it was believed that the afterlife was a place where the soul, it's like it was a garden for the soul, basically. The afterlife was considered to be a wonderful place in which you transcended after the pain and sorrow that you inflicted on this ground. So they had this idea that the afterlife is prosperous, that it is something, how should I say, like they decorated the sarcophagus of a lot of people that died, well, the people that had the money to do so, and wealthy people mostly had this done with a lot of good luck symbols. There was a situation there where obviously the riches that you were supposed to have in the afterlife were proportionate to how good of a person you were in the current life. So it wasn't so easy. It's not that everybody had immediate access to prosperity. But nonetheless, you know, there were a lot of artifacts that people were buried with, and a lot of like gold rings, and a lot of scarab amulets, and a lot of tiny symbols representing Isis, the goddess of fertility and life and love to a certain extent, but also the goddess that put, what was the name of Isis's counterpart? Was it Ra? Oh, I forgot. Let me know down in the comments, guys. I know a lot of you are super knowledgeable and I love exchanging knowledge with you, okay? So let me know down in the comments, who was Isis's counterpart? Osiris, I think. Yeah, she put together his limbs and then made love to him to bring him back to life. So I feel that you were at such a temple. You were either, yeah, and I felt Anubis at the beginning, right? And Anubis is the god of the underworld. And oh my God, it's so many things are coming in. And I feel like there was a statue of Anubis, who was measuring the souls of the people that entered the underworld with a feather. So there was that feather test whereby if you had a very pure, kind heart, I think before you entered the underworld, you would pass the test of the feather on a scale. He would put a feather on the scale and then your soul on the other scale. And if it actually matched up, it meant that you had a balanced life and you could gain access to a prosperous afterlife. But if not, then you had more karma, so you had to go to kind of the nastier sides of the afterlife. I'm sorry guys, let me know more comments down below about this thing, but there was the test of a feather, and I think that it was god Anubis or Mat. I think it was the goddess or the spirit of justice, of universal balance. So you were basically a person that was guarding this temple, a man. For most of you, you were a young man. That's what I see. And you were heavily into these wheelings and dealings in front of the temple. You had some sort of power. So obviously you did not have the power of the priest. You weren't a very wealthy person. You were just a person that was kind of in an interesting position. So you got to spend a lot of time and see a lot of powerful people, but you also dealt with a lot of poor people and a lot of people that would just come to pray, or they would come to worship deities there. So you got to see people from all walks of life. Potentially a lot of you could be Geminis, Gemini suns, Gemini north nodes, Gemini moons, Gemini ascendants. I don't know why, but I'm getting this Mercury influence, or Virgos potentially. Virgo sun, Virgo moon, Virgo ascendants. So what happened there? You had to undergo this really precarious balance all the time. So you had to be very careful when you accepted the bribes, during religious holidays or celebrations. When a lot of people would come to the temple, you were more strict than during periods when, for example, people had to I'm getting like the final days of the year, they were considered to be bringers of bad luck. So whatever happened in between 27th of December and 31st of December, it was considered to be poverty days, or, you know, bad luck days in Egypt. And I think during those times, that's when you made most of your money, because a lot of people would come to the temple to try to put more objects on the bodies of their beloved in their coffins, in order to kind of ensure their protection, secure their luck. There were a lot of superstitions around the dead, and of course their families, some of them actually thought that if they give more to the dead, they will bring more good luck onto themselves in that current lifetime. And you were just observing these things. Interestingly enough, I don't think that you had a family of your own. I think that you kept to yourself quite a lot. With the King of Pentacles, I think that you managed to acquire quite a good sum of money, but you're very secretive about your money. You would amass it, you would hold it, you would keep it somewhere. I'm hearing jars. I think that you had jars of money that you kept in your house, but nobody could tell because you lived quite modestly. So there might be a tendency of doing the same thing in your current lifetime, that you're quite secretive about money. You like to make it, you like to save it, but you don't like to tell people how much money you have. And also you project this image that you don't have that much money. You live quite modestly. And in this way, this is kind of protecting you. I feel like there was an incident that happened with the Fool card here. There was an incident that happened during a religious celebration, and you got into a fist fight with somebody in the temple. I feel like that was the moment when the priest, I feel it was a priest, not necessarily a priestess, but I do think that there were a lot of statues of Isis in your temple. So Anubis and Isis are two of the important deities that I keep feeling that they're popping up in your past life Egyptian story. So I feel that that conflict actually made the priest notice you. Like, the priest would see you every day as he would walk in the temple, but it's almost like you were forgettable, you know. It's like almost like you're a person that was blending into the background. But that conflict where you engaged in a fist fight to stop a person from entering the temple, I feel like that person wanted to throw money around in the temple, and that was considered to be a very rude way of behaving in a temple, to just throw money around, because there was that really strong discrepancy between materialism and spirituality. However, at the same time, it's true that there was a sense that materialism somehow can protect you in the afterlife. So very strange value systems, but nonetheless really interesting. And obviously you wanted to protect that person from throwing money around in a temple, and you're engaged in some sort of violent fight with them, and the priest noticed you. And I think like for a period of time you were kicked out of the temple. I see here with the 8 of Cups you had to walk away, and this was really sad. I feel like you actually did not know what to do with yourself. The temple offered you a lot of protection. Potentially nowadays you are attracted to churches, you are attracted to ashrams, you're attracted to temples, mosques, all sorts of spaces of traditional religious worship. You might be attracted to Egyptian gods as well, because you're remembering things from your past life, okay? And it was way, 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 way back, right before Christ. So I feel that you had to walk away, and when you walked away, it's almost like you did not know what to do with yourself. I feel like the moment when you had to walk away because of that violent conflict, and because the priest noticed you and got upset, in spite of the fact that your intention was good, violence was not tolerated in that context, and especially because it felt like it was sullying the spiritual nature of the temple. You were sent away, and you spent a lot of time actually drinking. Sorry guys, we got interrupted. Somebody called me. Okay guys, so sorry about that. Okay, so what I was saying, you started taking a very weird path in your lifetime. It was a period where you lost your job at the temple, and you started you did not know what to do with yourself. So that lack of meaning in your life, the protection that you felt you lost by losing your job at the temple, made you kind of go astray for a while. I feel like you were just wandering the city, you were drinking, you were sleeping, you were just looking at the Nile. You didn't know what to do. I'm also getting, I don't know, okay, geographically, this could be a bit weird, but I'm not getting Cairo. I don't think you were born in Cairo, so the capital of Egypt. I think this is more about Alexandria. For some reason, potentially you could have some links with Alexandria. Maybe you heard of this city, maybe you traveled there. Alexandria was also the place where they had this huge library. Sorry about the truck in the background, but this could be a confirmation from spirit that what I'm saying is close to the truth. So yeah, it was a hub of spirituality and culture, or it used to be back then anyway. So I do think that at one point something happened. I feel like while you were close to water one day, and you were just kicking some pebbles thinking, what are you going to do with your life? I do have to say that you guys also contemplated suicide at one point. All of a sudden you had some sort of divine intervention. Okay, so your story was saved by an incoming angel. Something happened, and I feel that you met someone. You met a woman that was carrying a vessel on her head, that saw you on the edge of the river. I feel like potentially you might have tried to swim in the river, or something caught her attention about you. Maybe you were sad, maybe you just looked very worn out and hopeless, you know. And all of a sudden God or spirit and the angels around you sent you this spiritual protection through this woman who I think that she started talking to you, and she found out that you used to work at the temple. She was also very connected to that temple. Something tells me that she got married in that temple. So this wasn't a love connection, it was more of a friendship. This woman basically arrived right at the nick of time to help bring you a sense of hope, a sense of you are not alone, it's gonna be fine somehow, you know. I feel like you ended up eating meals with this woman's family. I feel like she had some children. I'm hearing she had about 3 children, and you also ended up financially helping this family because you had a lot of money, but you were a very solitary man. And I feel like because through your association with this woman and with the family, you kind of started opening up your heart again. You started to be a bit more sociable, and you started realizing that what you were doing by kind of taking bribes and focusing too much on money was exactly the opposite of the space, or the, how should I say, the energy of the space at which you used to serve and protect. So you were far too focused on materialism, and I feel that, you know, spirit brought that, brought your job into your life, brought you as the guardian, brought you into the position of a guardian that guards a temple, to try to kind of place in front of you every day the acknowledgement of the fact that you need to spiritualize your life somehow. And you finally got it. This loss helped you understand that you need to spiritualize your life, and this woman's family also help you understand that it's really, really important, not necessarily how much you have in life, but whom you have in your life. Whom do you get to share your life with? And I think that this was a completely like a watershed moment for you. I feel like with the grace of this lady and her husband and their children, you went to the temple with them. I feel like she was a very she was a person that believed a lot. She was a highly spiritual person, very kind, very noble. And she took you back to the temple. I feel like through this family and through your association with this family, they weren't necessarily very rich. They were actually quite modest people, but they were very kind, and they were very spiritually inclined, okay? They love to go to temples and to worship Egyptian deities. So I feel that through your association with this family, you went back to the temple, you found the forgiveness of the priest, and you were able to resume your job again. This was definitely a wake-up call for you. It's almost as if you understood why you had to be the guardian of a temple, and it wasn't so much as your obsession with money as you were at the beginning. Yeah, I feel like you were karmically connected somehow to this. I feel like you had to do these associations with these people that would just enter the temple instead of you protecting it. But then this awakening moment, you being away from the temple, made you appreciate it in a new light, and your connection with this family and this kind of like guardian angel that appeared in your life helped you understand that you generally love being around the temple, that you need to protect that place of spiritual worship, and you basically restarted your life. It was a completely new beginning in the same place, but from a completely different perspective. You change internally, and all of a sudden the situation around you and how you felt your life changed as well. And I felt like you started having more friendships. I felt like you started opening up. The more you spiritualized your life, the more you got into protecting the environment, your life kind of opened up, and you started making friends. You started talking more to the people that came there. You started participating in the rituals of that temple, such as weddings or initiation, rites of passages, death rites, I think. Wow, so I could feel like it's a lot of like, there is some sort of sorrow that I feel about your past life, but it was a really transformative period where you move from a very material mindset to a very spiritual one. So I want to see right now what oracle cards you got. I pulled 3 for each deck. So your oracle cards are, okay, what are you bringing forward from that past life in Egypt? What are you bringing forward into this current life? Gratitude. Okay, so we have here, gratitude makes sense of our past, brings peace for today, and creates a vision for tomorrow. Melody BT. Gratitude, definitely. This is what you bring from a past life in Egypt. So I think that the more grateful you are for the things you have in this lifetime, the more you can get in touch with your past life wisdom and your past life, what is the word? Legacy, basically. Legacy, yeah. Moldavite. Moldavite could be a stone that can help you connect with your past life in Egypt. And it says here, unconventionality. Your unique qualities are an important part of your life purpose. It's okay to feel and be different from others. Yeah, definitely. So there is a theme here of you being solitary, ultra independent, and now in this current lifetime you might need to actually start a family, get integrated, become part of some groups, give back to the people around you. You need to socialize, you need to live in connection with other people in this lifetime. In a past lifetime you were too independent, you were too on your own, and this created a lot of sadness in your heart. But in this current lifetime, you're meant to share with others, you're meant to communicate with others, talk to others, and get to know other people. And finally, take time to breathe out. So we have here the disseminating moon card. Take time to breathe out. You're meant to genuinely love and get to know people slowly. I feel that in your past life, as I said, in the first part of your life, you were just kind of like keeping people away from your temple, quite solitary. You were a kind of person that worked and then got home and slept. And obviously when your job was taken, it's almost as if the meaning in your life was taken because you were so attached to one thing, your independence and your work. But in this current lifetime, I feel like you are meant to create your own family based on your experience of having been taken into the warmth and the kindness of the family that entered into your life almost like a blessing, right? Like a guardian angel's hand, you know, that touched you. That woman that helped you even stop contemplating suicide, you know. So I feel that some of you could be North nodes in Cancers, North nodes in Libras. Feel free to get in touch with me for a birth chart if you want to know more about your North nodes. I feel like this was the message that I had for you, pile number 1. Yeah, feel free to get in touch if you want to see how this applies, because this is just a general reading. But if you want me to get more in-depth into your past life or ancestor messages reading, I offer one of those on my website. Link is down below. Feel free to order with me if you feel so inclined. I really don't like to tell you guys what to do, so just if you feel drawn to my energy, if you feel compelled to do so, if you want to find out more about your past life and you're thinking, well, some of these parts resonated but not all of it, I'm here to help you, okay guys? So yeah, that was the reading I had for you. I hope you enjoyed it. I don't know why, but there is a remnant here of a kind of like a heavy feeling, but I'm gonna try to purge it and send you a lot of love and light and warmth. Okay guys, pile number 1, I love you very much. Thank you for being here. See you next time. Bye. Hi pile number 1, how are you guys? I hope this finds you well. So excited to be bringing you this. I hope the excitement can be transmitted to you as well, and it just brightens your day. So this is for those of you that were drawn to this gold starfish ring. This is one of my favorite rings. I love to wear it. I am going to pull some cards right now. I'm going to shuffle from a specific tarot deck. So for each pile, I will have a different tarot deck. For you guys, I'm choosing the Nicoletta Ciccoli Gorgeous Tarot. And I also have some cards I pre-shuffled, some oracle cards that I'm going to get into at the end of the reading to try to see some overall messages of how could you maybe bring, like what kind of wisdom, what kind of wisdom are you bringing from a past life into your present lifetime? So maybe give you some tips as to what spirit kind of encourages you to do in your current present lifetime based on your past life experience. I hope that makes sense. Whoosh. Okay, I'm a bit in a funny mood. The moon is in Libra today, so you know. Anyway, so let's do this. The Nicoletta Ciccoli Tarot. Okay. Pile number 1. Who were they in a past life? Pile number 1. Whoa, I'm getting Egypt. Woo. Whoa, I don't know, it's like, it came all over me. Oh my God, it's like, I'm hearing the word Anubis, the god of death, the god that looked almost like he had the face of a dog, of a dark dog or of a wolf. Definitely, I see a lot of sunlight and a lot of plants growing on the edge of the Nile. Okay, so This is something about a past life in Egypt. Let me show you the cards that fell out for you. So we have the Two of Swords, walking a fine line, being on a tightrope. We have the Fool, taking a risk, having to be brave. Okay, wow, we have the King of Pentacles, wealth and prosperity, abundance. Wow, it's like so powerful. And then we have the Eight of Cups, having to walk away from something emotionally draining, painful. Temperance, being in connection with the divine, the realm of heaven, being under angelic protection. You guys were priests in a past life. You definitely served in some sort of temple in Egypt. I'm not getting the Hierophant here, but I do want to pull one more card for you guys, just to clarify if this is a... Because I'm getting two things. So I'm getting that potentially some of you had a past life in Egypt where you were either soldiers or protectors of a temple. So you were on the outside looking in to these religious processions, kind of helping a figure of authority like a priest or a priestess prepare a lot of things like prepare offerings, prepare sacrifices, prepare ablutions. You were in charge of keeping people away from entering the temple and making sure who kind of enters the temple at the right time. It's kind of like the modern day equivalent of a bouncer in front of a club, but you were in front of a temple. I think that, okay, the final card that came out as well is the Seven of Pentacles. Having your feet in many different pots, having to do a lot of covert activity, underhanded activities. Oh my God, oh my God, I know what this activity was about. Oh, okay, this is really strange. It's coming like it's flooding. Okay, so I'm getting more that you guys were the, not really the priests, but more like the people that were guarding a temple. And I think that what happened is that you were, because you were in charge of guarding this temple, there were a lot of burials happening, right? Dead people were brought into the temple to be sanctified, to be mummified, and then to be buried. And I think that a lot of people were actually paying you money to enter covertly into the temple. So they're basically bribing you so that you would allow them to enter into the temple at night and potentially leave artifacts on the body of the dead person, or to take some artifacts from the body of the dead person. If you remember, or if you guys are familiar with Egypt, if you remember, yeah, because you had a past life in Egypt. Egyptians love to bring a lot of riches into the sarcophagus of people that died, especially wealthy people, took a lot of their material possessions with them in the afterlife, because it was believed that the afterlife was a place where the soul, it's like it was a garden for the soul, basically. The afterlife was considered to be a wonderful place in which you transcended after the pain and sorrow that you inflicted on this ground. So they had this idea that the afterlife is prosperous, that it is something, how should I say, like they decorated the sarcophagus of a lot of people that died, well, the people that had the money to do so, and wealthy people mostly had this done with a lot of good luck symbols. There was a situation there where obviously the riches that you were supposed to have in the afterlife were proportionate to how good of a person you were in the current life. So it wasn't so easy. It's not that everybody had immediate access to prosperity. But nonetheless, you know, there were a lot of artifacts that people were buried with, and a lot of like gold rings, and a lot of scarab amulets, and a lot of tiny symbols representing Isis, the goddess of fertility and life and love to a certain extent, but also the goddess that put, what was the name of Isis's counterpart? Was it Ra? Oh, I forgot. Let me know down in the comments, guys. I know a lot of you are super knowledgeable and I love exchanging knowledge with you, okay? So let me know down in the comments who was Isis's counterpart. Osiris, I think. Yeah, she put together his limbs and then made love to him to bring him back to life. So I feel that you were at such a temple. You were either, yeah, and I felt Anubis at the beginning, right? And Anubis is the god of the underworld. And oh my God, it's so many things are coming in. And I feel like there was a statue of Anubis who was measuring the souls of the people that entered the underworld with a feather. So there was that feather test whereby if you had a very pure, kind heart, I think before you entered the underworld, you would pass the test of the feather on a scale. He would put a feather on the scale and then your soul on the other scale. And if it actually matched up, it meant that you had a balanced life and you could gain access to a prosperous afterlife. But if not, then you had more karma. So you had to go to kind of the nastier sides of the afterlife. I'm sorry, guys. Let me know more comments down below about this thing. But there was the test of a feather. And I think that it was god Anubis or Mat. I think it was the goddess or the spirit of justice, of universal balance. So you were basically a person that was guarding this temple, a man. For most of you, you were a young man. That's what I see. And you were heavily into these wheelings and dealings in front of the temple. You had some sort of power. So obviously you did not have the power of the priest. You weren't a very wealthy person. You were just a person that was kind of in an interesting position. So you got to spend a lot of time and see a lot of powerful people, but you also dealt with a lot of poor people and a lot of people that would just come to pray, or they would come to worship deities there. So you got to see people from all walks of life. Potentially a lot of you could be Geminis, Gemini suns, Gemini north nodes, Gemini moons, Gemini ascendants. I don't know why, but I'm getting this Mercury influence, or Virgos potentially. Virgo sun, Virgo moon, Virgo ascendants. So what happened there? You had to undergo this really precarious balance all the time. So you had to be very careful when you accepted the bribes, during religious holidays or celebrations. When a lot of people would come to the temple, you were more strict than during periods when, for example, people had to, I'm getting like the final days of the year, they were considered to be bringers of bad luck. So whatever happened in between 27th of December and 31st of December, it was considered to be poverty days, or, you know, bad luck days in Egypt. And I think during those times, that's when you made most of your money, because a lot of people would come to the temple to try to put more objects on the bodies of their beloved in their coffins, in order to kind of ensure their protection, secure their luck. There were a lot of superstitions around the dead, and of course their families, some of them actually thought that if they give more to the dead, they will bring more good luck onto themselves in that current lifetime. And you were just observing these things. Interestingly enough, I don't think that you had a family of your own. I think that you kept to yourself quite a lot. With the King of Pentacles, I think that you managed to acquire quite a good sum of money, but you were very secretive about your money. You would amass it, you would hold it, you would keep it somewhere. I'm hearing jars. I think that you had jars of money that you kept in your house, but nobody could tell because you lived quite modestly. So there might be a tendency of doing the same thing in your current lifetime, that you're quite secretive about money. You like to make it, you like to save it, but you don't like to tell people how much money you have. And also you project this image that you don't have that much money. You live quite modestly. And in this way, this is kind of protecting you. I feel like there was an incident that happened with the Fool card here. There was an incident that happened during a religious celebration and you got into a fist fight with somebody in the temple. I feel like that was the moment when the priest, I feel it was a priest, not necessarily a priestess, but I do think that there were a lot of statues of Isis in your temple. So Anubis and Isis are two of the important deities that I keep feeling that they're popping up in your past life Egyptian story. So I feel that that conflict actually made the priest notice you. Like, the priest would see you every day as he would walk in the temple, but it's almost like you were forgettable, you know. It's like almost like you're a person that was blending into the background. But that conflict where you engaged in a fist fight to stop a person from entering the temple, I feel like that person wanted to throw money around in the temple, and that was considered to be a very rude way of behaving in a temple, to just throw money around, because there was that really strong discrepancy between materialism and spirituality. However, at the same time, it's true that there was a sense that materialism somehow can protect you in the afterlife. So very strange value systems, but nonetheless really interesting. And obviously you wanted to protect that person from throwing money around in a temple, and you engaged in some sort of violent fight with them, and the priest noticed you. And I think, like, for a period of time you were kicked out of the temple. I see here with the 8 of Cups, you had to walk away, and this was really sad. I feel like you actually did not know what to do with yourself. The temple offered you a lot of protection. Potentially nowadays you are attracted to churches, you are attracted to ashrams, you are attracted to temples, mosques, all sorts of spaces of traditional religious worship. You might be attracted to Egyptian gods as well, because you're remembering things from your past life, okay? And it was way, 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 way back, right before Christ. So I feel that you had to walk away, and when you walked away, it's almost like you did not know what to do with yourself. I feel like the moment when you had to walk away because of that violent conflict, and because the priest noticed you and got upset, in spite of the fact that your intention was good, violence was not tolerated in that context, and especially because it felt like it was sullying the spiritual nature of the temple. You were sent away, and you spent a lot of time actually drinking. Sorry guys, we got interrupted. Somebody called me. Okay guys, so sorry about that. Okay, so what I was saying, you started taking a very weird path in your lifetime. It was a period where you lost your job at the temple, and you started you did not know what to do with yourself. So that lack of meaning in your life, the protection that you felt you lost by losing your job at the temple, made you kind of go astray for a while. I feel like you were just wandering the city, you were drinking, you were sleeping, you were just looking at the Nile. You didn't know what to do. I'm also getting, I don't know, okay, geographically, this could be a bit weird, but I'm not getting Cairo. I don't think you were born in Cairo, so the capital of Egypt. I think this is more about Alexandria. For some reason, potentially you could have some links with Alexandria. Maybe you heard of this city, maybe you traveled there. Alexandria was also the place where they had this huge library. Sorry about the truck in the background, but this could be a confirmation from spirit that what I'm saying is close to the truth. So yeah, it was a hub of spirituality and culture, or it used to be back then anyway. So I do think that at one point something happened. I feel like while you were close to water one day, and you were just kicking some pebbles thinking, what are you going to do with your life? I do have to say that you guys also contemplated suicide at one point. All of a sudden you had some sort of divine intervention. Okay, so your story was saved by an incoming angel. Something happened, and I feel that you met someone. You met a woman that was carrying a vessel on her head, that saw you on the edge of the river. I feel like potentially you might have tried to swim in the river, or something caught her attention about you. Maybe you were sad, maybe you just looked very worn out and hopeless, you know. And all of a sudden, God or spirit and the angels around you sent you this spiritual protection through this woman who, I think that she started talking to you, and she found out that you used to work at the temple. She was also very connected to that temple. Something tells me that she got married in that temple. So this wasn't a love connection. It was more of a friendship. This woman basically arrived right at the nick of time to help bring you a sense of hope, a sense of you are not alone, it's gonna be fine somehow, you know? I feel like you ended up eating meals with this woman's family. I feel like she had some children. I'm hearing she had about 3 children, and you also ended up financially helping this family because you had a lot of money, but you were a very solitary man. And I feel like because through your association with this woman and with the family, you kind of started opening up your heart again. You started to be a bit more sociable, and you started realizing that what you were doing by kind of taking bribes and focusing too much on money was exactly the opposite of the space, or the, how should I say, the energy of the space at which you used to serve and protect. So you were far too focused on materialism, and I feel that, you know, spirit brought that brought your job into your life, brought you as the guardian, brought you into the position of a guardian that guards a temple, to try to kind of place in front of you every day the acknowledgement of the fact that you need to spiritualize your life somehow. And you finally got it. This loss helped you understand that you need to spiritualize your life, and this woman's family also help you understand that it's really, really important, not necessarily how much you have in life, but whom you have in your life. Whom do you get to share your life with? And I think that this was a completely like a watershed moment for you. I feel like with the grace of this lady and her husband and their children, you went to the temple with them. I feel like she was a very she was a person that believed a lot. She was a highly spiritual person, very kind, very noble. And she took you back to the temple. I feel like through this family and through your association with this family, they weren't necessarily very rich. They were actually quite modest people, but they were very kind, and they were very spiritually inclined, okay? They love to go to temples and to worship Egyptian deities. So I feel that through your association with this family, you went back to the temple, you found the forgiveness of the priest, and you were able to resume your job again. This was definitely a wake-up call for you. It's almost as if you understood why you had to be the guardian of a temple, and it wasn't so much as your obsession with money as you were at the beginning. Yeah, I feel like you were karmically connected somehow to this. I feel like you had to do these associations with these people that would just enter the temple instead of you protecting it. But then this awakening moment, you being away from the temple, made you appreciate it in a new light, and your connection with this family and this kind of like guardian angel that appeared in your life helped you understand that you generally love being around the temple, that you need to protect that place of spiritual worship, and you basically restarted your life. It was a completely new beginning in the same place, but from a completely different perspective. You change internally, and all of a sudden, the situation around you and how you felt your life changed as well. And I felt like you started having more friendships. I felt like you started opening up. The more you spiritualized your life, the more you got into protecting the environment, your life kind of opened up, and you started making friends. You started talking more to the people that came there. You started participating in the rituals of that temple, such as weddings or initiation, rites of passages, death, death rites, I think. Wow, so I could feel like it's a lot of like, there is some sort of sorrow that I feel about your past life, but it was a really transformative period where you move from a very material mindset to a very spiritual one. So I want to see right now what oracle cards you got. I pulled 3 for each deck. So your oracle cards are, okay, what are you bringing forward from that past life in Egypt? What are you bringing forward into this current life? Gratitude. Okay, so we have here, gratitude makes sense of our past, brings peace for today, and creates a vision for tomorrow. Melody BT. Gratitude, definitely. This is what you bring from a past life in Egypt. So I think that the more grateful you are for the things you have in this lifetime, the more you can get in touch with your past life wisdom and your past life, what is the word? Legacy, basically. Legacy, yeah. Moldavite. Moldavite could be a stone that can help you connect with your past life in Egypt. And it says here, unconventionality. Your unique qualities are an important part of your life purpose. It's okay to feel and be different from others. Yeah, definitely. So there is a theme here of you being solitary, ultra independent. And now, in this current lifetime, you might need to actually start a family, get integrated, become part of some groups, give back to the people around you. You need to socialize. You need to live in connection with other people in this lifetime. In a past lifetime, you were too independent. You were too on your own. And this created a lot of sadness in your heart. But in this current lifetime, you're meant to share with others. You're meant to communicate with others, talk to others, and get to know other people. And finally, take time to breathe out. So we have here the disseminating moon card. Take time to breathe out. You're meant to genuinely love and get to know people slowly. I feel that in your past life, as I said, in the first part of your life, you were just kind of like keeping people away from your temple, quite solitary. You were a kind of person that worked and then got home and slept. And obviously when your job was taken, it's almost as if the meaning in your life was taken because you were so attached to one thing, your independence and your work. But in this current lifetime, I feel like you are meant to create your own family based on your experience of having been taken into the warmth and the kindness of the family that entered into your life almost like a blessing, right? Like a guardian angel's hand, you know, that touched you. That woman that helped you even stop contemplating suicide, you know. So I feel that some of you could be North nodes in Cancers, North nodes in Libras. Feel free to get in touch with me for a birth chart if you want to know more about your North nodes. I feel like this was the message that I had for you, pile number 1. Yeah, feel free to get in touch if you want to see how this applies, because this is just a general reading. But if you want me to get more in depth into your past life or ancestor messages reading, I offer one of those on my website. Link is down below. Feel free to order with me if you feel so inclined. I really don't like to tell you guys what to do, so just if you feel drawn to my energy, if you feel compelled to do so, if you want to find out more about your past life and you're thinking, well, some of these parts resonated but not all of it, I'm here to help you. Okay, guys? So yeah, that was the reading I had for you. I hope you enjoyed it. I don't know why, but there is a remnant here of a kind of like a heavy feeling, but I'm gonna try to purge it and send you a lot of love and light and warmth. Okay, guys? Pile number 1, I love you very much. Thank you for being here. See you next time. Bye. Hey pile 2, how are you guys? I hope this finds you well. I'm sending you a lot of love. So this reading is for those of you that were drawn to this square silver ring. We'll see what your past life has to say. So I'm going to pull from a different, I'm going to shuffle cards from a different tarot deck. Pile number 1 got the Chocoli Tarot. You guys got the Santa Muerte Tarot. And at the end, I also pre-shuffled some oracle cards, 3 of them, to try to give you some overall messages of inspiration. What is the legacy that you bring from a past life, and how can you improve or build upon it in your current lifetime, okay? So yeah, I want to give you guys like a picture of your past life, but also try to see how some of the things might play out from a past life into your current reality, and what advice, we can garner from spirit. Okay, guys, so let's do this. Good, so for pile number 2, I took a sip from my coffee in between pile 1 and 2, and I felt the presence of dark. I'm not sure if you spent a lot of time in the dark or if you lived in quite a dark place, so there were frequent atmospheric changes, there was little light, or if, oh, okay, yeah, I felt it coming. I felt that one of the piles today is going to have a theme of slavery, and this is your pile. Okay, let's see what story, okay? Don't leave yet. Let's see what story popped up. Ooh. Woo, 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 woo. Sorry, but just the energy is like, yeah, okay. 7 of Pentacles, imprisonment. And it's also kind of like, traditionally, this card would represent planting new seeds and watching them grow. But in this case, it's almost as if you're blocked from planting seeds. There was some energy that was holding you from living. And then we have next to it, it's the Four of Cups. Yeah, just feeling, I mean, look at this guy. It's just feeling as if you're just, I can't do this, you know? So there is a feeling here of being chained or dragged or under the control of other people. We did get here the King of Wands and the King of Swords. I mean, I just want to show you these two cards again. Somebody ordering you around and somebody keeping you from moving. Why am I getting that you guys were a man as well? But that's what I'm getting. I'm getting that you were a man, and I'm getting that you were enslaved. But there is a really positive twist to this story, okay? So hear me out, okay? So I'm not getting any race, okay, guys? So take this as it applies. This goes way, way beyond than, for example, what happened in America, right? With the cotton pickings. That is one of the things that we have most recently into our consciousness, the fight against slavery, right? But this is even further back. I mean, people used to enslave each other since the time of the Druids and the Celts and the Romans and the Huns, okay? So they even had protective rings and chains that were engraved with the name of their slaves. So slavery and possessing another human being has been with us since the dawn of mankind, okay? And this goes way, way back, okay? I'm generally getting that this did happen somewhere in Britain. So somewhere during that time, right before the Roman conquest, when you had, what was it? It was the Celts and the Picts, right? There was those tribes that were governing the land. And yeah, somewhere in between your conflicts with the Vikings, because I do know that the Vikings also attacked Britain, and somewhere prior to the Roman conquest and Hadrian's Wall, right? So there is something here. That's the area and the space where you lived. And indeed, so the darkness, it's almost like a grayish kind of darkness. It's not like fully dark. That darkness that exists in the British Isles, you know, the kind of moist kind of, always there seems to be a thin layer of fog and rain and the sense of a lot of humidity in the air, right? And there is also kind of this idea that not a lot of lush vegetation can grow, but things are constantly green throughout the whole year. You were enslaved by someone that had immense power. Why am I getting that? Oh my God, this is so weird, you guys. Some of you were enslaved. Okay, there are two threads here. Some of you were together with a man that was very, very strong, and you were a woman. And you were basically this man's slave. But hear me out. You weren't really, you were his wife. But it was kind of like a very man pulls woman by the hair out of the cave kind of situation. Oh my God. But it's kind of like this guy, it's like he saw you, he wanted you, he claimed you, you know? It's like he gave you, I feel like he gave you like a choker, like some sort of you know, one of those brass rings with 2 points at the bottom that represented, you know, that you were belonging to someone, or they represented that you were part of a family. So you had something like this around your throat. You could be attracted to chokers nowadays. You could have some sort of uncomfortable feeling if people touch your throat. There could be some sensitivity around your throat, okay guys? So this is because in a past life you were a slave and you had something around your throat that showed this to other people, that you belonged to someone. And I feel that it was a very powerful, physically powerful man, okay? Quite brutish, quite large, quite masculine. And this person, you know, saw you, wanted you, claimed you, you became his wife, you became the partner that he moved around with, so to say, okay? So I feel that it was very hard to escape because this person would get violent and you were afraid of the physical violence of this person. Really weird. But at the same time, you did appreciate the protection of this person because, you know, if you lived in an environment that did not have the social rules that we had today, imagine if somebody else were to have claimed you. I mean, there was the situation of people claiming each other and just, you know, kind of like grabbing each other. Social rules were very different back then. I'm not even sure if they had anything other than spiritual rules, right? So they were afraid of thunder, or they're afraid of massive movements, or they were afraid of predators like bears or wolves. So this person protected you against those things. You know, I feel like this person was able to build a shelter very quickly. They were able to, if they had to, fight a bear with their hands. God, this is like in the Leonardo DiCaprio movie, like, right? Fighting a bear, right? So exactly like that. This was the kind of like rugged, but even like more exaggerated. I feel like this person was quite dark. They had a beard, they had dark curly hair. Yeah, very, very masculine. But at the same time, that's the thing. So it's kind of like he protected you. He took care of you because you were precious to him, you know? But it was just this thing of possession, you know, like you were this person's person and nobody was supposed to take you away, and your freedom was kind of infringed, okay? So it was a very weird, codependent, powerful connection, okay? And I feel that for some of you that were a woman in connection with this guy, this was how your life played out. I feel that... What am I getting here with the star card? I'm gonna say it. Some of you develop this kind of Stockholm syndrome complex, you know, to this partner. I feel that you basically, remarkably, under the protection and the rugged care of this individual, you actually started blossoming because, you know, you just had a very stable partner, and even though they were domineering and very possessive and infringing your freedom, you basically felt quite protected and nurtured. I feel like you guys, you know, you had your specific area where you lived. I feel like you were very intuitive because you had to live with an individual that was a little bit morose and moody, and kind of sometimes you had to be careful, you know, what you said or did around this person, not to provoke this person's anger. You developed some very high intuitive capacities, you know, you could understand nonverbal changes. I feel like you also did a lot of rituals on full moon night, so you develop very witchy capacities, and this person actually protected you against any person that would send you negativity or want to take something from you. So it was a really interesting power couple, but there was a tincture of Stockholm syndrome, like you fell in love with your persecutor, if that makes sense. Yeah. So in this current lifetime, you could be experiencing similar themes. You could be highly attracted to rugged individuals, but somehow the situation feels oppressive. You could be highly intuitive and you're wondering, where have I developed these capacities? Well, in this situation of being a domestic slave, more or less. I feel like, again, your sensitivity around the throat area, you might fear expressing yourself. Some of you could actually love decorating your throats, and others of you might actually be repelled about putting anything around your throat. Some of you could even have problems breathing, okay? When there is a situation that there is a conflict, especially the potential of a violent conflict with a male around you, you might start to experience some sort of feeling of being choked. And this is because of your past life. Oof, this is really heavy, you guys. I'm sorry. I hope it's not triggering a lot of you out there. But this is what I see. Now, for the second thread of people, I do feel that you were a man and that you were imprisoned. And I think this actually, so basically the same landscape, the same era, but this was closer to the Roman conquest. So I think that something happened where you were captured by the Romans. So you were part of a group of Celts. You were captured by the Romans. And I feel that, yeah, definitely, there was a very strong, God, how would you call them? It wasn't a legionnaire. It wasn't a legionnaire. I forgot how you would call a patrician. Thank you. There was like a military, so like a Roman military, but like also a political figure. because, you know, back in those days, military and political power was tended to be blended, but this was somebody that was a military person that tried to gain more political power through the conquests of that region. So this was quite a wealthy person, and I feel that he wanted to gather as many people as possible. He wanted to conquer as much land as possible because he wanted to affirm himself, King of Wands, right? So this was yeah, a highly feisty, competitive, winning at all costs kind of person. And under his rule, there was some sort of Roman terminology, Roman military terminology. There was some sort of soldier, but he wasn't necessarily like of a lower ranks. This was like a lieutenant or, yeah, even a general who served him. So this guy was more of a politician, and this guy a wealthy politician that wanted to conquer land. And this guy was more the military, the executing hand, right? So he was the one that would generally, this guy would give the orders and this other guy would implement them through brute force if he had to. And he captured you, this guy. And I feel like, yeah, you were in prison for a very long period of time. You were together with a group of other people from all over the world. I feel like there was some sort of like German and Gallic people that you were connected with as well, even people from Morocco and Egypt, I'm guessing. You were part of a group of a multicultural group that you were imprisoned with, and you guys were basically, you know how slaves were being kept like chained, and they were kept in these caves or in these cages practically. And I feel like there was, yeah, you could have even participated in certain fights in Roman amphitheaters, right? So I'm getting a very strong Russell Crowe in Gladiator kind of vibe, but you weren't like him, you know, like you weren't a military person that has fallen out of grace, became a mercenary. No, I feel like you were just, you know, you were a captured Celt, and you weren't even a military person in general. You weren't very muscled or like very much into that physical prowess. If at all, you were somebody that was quite like a farmer, or, you know, you were just the person that was kind of a peacemaker. You didn't care so much about that. You just wanted to live and let live. However, there is a really beautiful ending, because this is the card that we're ending with for both of these stories. Okay guys, so you weren't slaves your whole life. So if you resonate with this man that was captured by the Roman military, or if you resonate with this woman that was a Celtic, a Druid potentially, sorry, not a Druid, a Celtic person that, you know, was connected to somebody of her own tribe, but a very domineering person. In the end, you guys gained your freedom, okay? If you were the guy, you managed to escape. I see here the Fool card, and you can see in the Fool card how this happy skeleton is stepping out of his coffin with his bags. He holds a butterfly in his hand, and he's taking his heart away with him. This was immense emotional relief for you. You've lived almost a good part of your lifetime, not most of it, but a good part of your lifetime, you lived with a lot of stress due to the fact that you were incarcerated, but you managed to overcome the dominance of these military and political Roman men. And in this situation, your husband died. I feel like your husband died. He was struck by a boulder or lightning. There was something that around your area, something completely fortuitous happened. And obviously, you were relatively shocked because you lived in this condition thinking that you had to be protected. And to some extent, you did have to be protected from predators, for example. But you were free. You're free as well. You're finally free to just live and travel how you pleased, you know? So I even can feel like for some of you, you even took down that thing, that necklace or the choker that you had on you. For the other ones, I can see how the shackles come off. So there was a feeling almost around, I think that you lived to be up until 40 or 50 years of age, and towards that really blessed age, potentially your second Saturn return back then. still applied. You were liberated and you were able to just live the final years of your life completely free. And from what I see here, you were happy, okay? You are happy. Somehow you managed to organize your life in such a way that you could continue to practice your witchy wisdom, or you could continue to just travel and come back to your home. In this case, it was return back to Britain if you were taken all the way to Rome. So guys, I'm really happy to let you know that the story that felt quite heavy, I know it was a trip. I hope it didn't trigger a lot of you. Potentially some of you might remember past lives in Rome, past lives having to deal with Latin speaking people, Druids, that area around, you know, maybe you're drawn to Stonehenge. I do see that this could have happened somewhere in the south of England, not necessarily at Stonehenge, but somewhere in that, in those fields, right? So around that center of energy. And as I said, some themes could be re-emerging. Potentially you might feel a little bit trapped, metaphorically trapped by your family, by your condition, by your social class. You might feel trapped in certain connections. You end up in connections where you feel like your freedom is limited. These are all things, karmic things that you bring from a very, very way long ago past life, okay? This happened, this goes way deep down your ancestral line. So let's see what encouragement we get for you, pile number 2. Clearing the energy, okay? We have Larimar. Sensitive emotions. Wow, this fits so well with the witchiness that I saw here with the intuitive card, the star, right? There, the star. Sensitive emotions. Times of heightened emotions and sensitivity call for extra self-care and gentleness. You need to spend a lot of time by yourself to try to remove distractions, to tune into your own intuition and wisdom in this current lifetime, because in a past lifetime you were forced to live in relation to other people, whether you liked it or not. So you weren't free to choose whom you had to associate yourself with for the most part of it. But look at this, in this lifetime, you are given the conditions to liberate yourself from any situations that could shackle you metaphorically, okay? So we have here purity, cheerfulness, and innocence, the daisy. The present moment is filled with joy and happiness. If you are attentive, you will see it. You are asked to live in the present and to not feel guilty for wanting time for yourself. So this is a very different message than pile number 1. Be careful about choosing these 2 piles together, because this is about, or potentially you could have experienced one theme in one lifetime and then you reincarnated to experience the opposite in another lifetime. That can be possible, okay? Because of the position of the South and North Node in our charts. So in this lifetime, you are meant to live independently, to liberate yourself from the perceptions of other people around you, to not be shackled by other people's opinion, by their projections, by their control over you. Okay, so you're meant to liberate yourself. A lot of you could have a stellium in Sagittarius, or you could be Sagittarius Sun, Sagittarius North Nodes. It's all about freedom with you guys, independent freedom, liberating yourself from literal bondage, okay, literal slavery in a past life, okay? And we have here, what do you need to release? Waxing moon. Again, the cycles of the moon, right? This is why I chose these cards. So potentially when the moon is waxing, you could be triggered into some of these memories. You could dream about past lives. And it's really important to release any pain that is associated with that. You could have been born with a feeling of sadness, of heaviness, because of the literal shackles that you had on you, on your body in a past life. So I do recommend doing body work. If you resonate with this story, if you kind of feel like this wave coming over you of energy as I'm describing this story, or if you felt in any way triggered by the story, this has deep roots for you, and it is potentially close to you actually experiencing this in a past life. So make sure that you extract the wisdom of the theme of the lessons you learned in a past life, but you let go of the feelings, you let go of the pain, okay? And you deal with any remnant Stockholm syndrome kind of perceptions, okay? Falling in love with people that just want to dominate you, okay? Falling in love with situations that you think that they protect you and they give you comfort, but actually they end up being metaphorical prisons. Know that you have it within yourself to protect yourself, to create safety for yourself. You don't need other people to wrap you up in cotton wool and block you from growing. You have to grow, you have to experience, and you have to be independent in this lifetime. I feel so inspired as I'm saying this, which I hope that could resonate for some of you. I think it's super important that you guys hear this and that I give you as much encouragement as possible. Larimar and wearing Larimar could help you with dealing with purging any past life karma. And as I looked at the recording, I saw 2222. So that could be a significant angel number for you, reminding you of this theme of living independently in the present because you were shackled in the past. Pile number 2, I'm going to wrap it here because I don't want to make it too long. This was so powerful energetically. I'm so happy I chose this moment when the moon is in Libra to connect with your guys' past lives. This was a general reading. If you want to get more in-depth advice, please feel free to please feel free to get in touch with me. Please feel free to touch me. There is something here about touching as well, okay? You could be very sensitive to touches. Some of you could be Tauruses as well. Okay, I'm gonna stop here. I'm gonna wrap it up because it's getting too in-depth, okay? So everything you need, link to my services, how to book personal readings with me is down in the description box below. Do so if you feel inspired. I'm not gonna tell you what to do. You act on your intuition, okay guys? In the meantime, I send you all my light and all my love, and I hope to see you in my next video. Love you guys, bye. Hi, pal number 3, my loves, how are you? I hope this finds you well. I'm sending you a lot of love. Welcome. So this is for those of you that were drawn to the turquoise brass ring. Okay, turquoise used to be a stone that they would put on the crowns of kings in Egypt. And I did notice a theme of Egypt in the first pile. I'm not sure if Egypt is going to come for you as well, but we'll see what happens, okay? As I said, you could potentially be drawn to 2 piles, and it might be a reason for why you're drawn to that. So what I like to do in this reading is I'm going to draw from from a specific tarot deck for each group. So for you, I chose the Illuminated Tarot. I'm going to shuffle live, and I pre-shuffled some oracle messages. This I'm going to use at the end to try to interpret for you what is the legacy that you bring from a past life into your present reality. What is some advice from spirit? How could you learn and grow from the legacy of your past life? Okay, so let's find out who you were in a past life and what were some of the themes of your life. Okay, pile number 3. They're flying. Whee! Okay, so I felt very drawn to pull 2 more cards. Whoa, okay. You are an incredibly prosperous person. I need to show you the cards because it's almost like I see a garden here. Fantastic wealth and riches. So you got the King of Pentacles, one of the wealthiest persons in the tarot, especially in the minor arcana. The 5 of Cups. And then you got the 3 of Cups. So a lot of emotions, a lot of emotional karma. Then we have the Hermit, the 9 of Diamonds. So the 9 of Pentacles, again, a sign of wealth. The 6 of Pentacles, again, a sign of wealthy generosity. And the Fool. And then finally, I felt called to just pull out of the deck 2 additional cards. And we got the 5 and the 6 of Cups. Yeah. Whoa, okay. This is in Asia. Wow, I'm feeling such a sense of deep calm coming over me. Okay, there are some correspondences here with pile number 1, but not in terms of you having lived in Egypt. But there is a theme here, just like with pile number 1, of being so wealthy and then giving it up for spirituality, for going down a very spiritual path. It's almost like the story of Buddha, right? This wealthy young man that gives everything up to just live completely in the moment, to spread the light of awareness and like this, how should I say this, kind of energetic rising from your body that kind of comes out and sanctifies the whole of nature, but at the same time nature and spirit lives in complete communion with you. Okay, sorry, I don't mean to confuse you guys. Let's see the details of your past life first. But this is just from looking at these cards, they all look as if it's a garden, right? You can clearly see this. A beautiful garden, abundance, galore, socializing. You were a position of wealth, of importance, of authority. You were so stable. And then the final two cards, even the colors have changed. They're much more melancholic. They're about going within, keeping your cards close to the chest, going on a journey away from kind of like excitable waters, okay? This is moving towards more calmer waters. And we did have the Hermit as well and the Fool. So this is an indication that, yeah, you were a person that from the moment you were born in your past life, and I do feel that this is somewhere in Asia, in China more specifically. I feel like you were this, and for a lot of you, you were a man as well. I'm not sure what's happening today. A lot of masculine energy coming through. But you were born as a beautiful baby boy and you were surrounded by relatives. You were the son of a very wealthy tradesman who had several wives. Your mother was one of them. I feel she was the youngest of them. And you were the first child that your father had with that woman. And I feel like I'm hearing you were also the first son. So back in those days when, people were increasingly more traditional than nowadays, you were considered to be like, wow, an achievement, if you're born a son. So there was a lot of blessings, there was a lot of positive regard. People were just highly excited around you and so happy, and you were kissed and you were held and swaddled in, I'm hearing satin, white satin blankets and like all sorts of like really beautiful decorations. And I feel like people blessed your forehead. I feel like they put all sorts of good luck symbols. Like I'm seeing tiny jade dragon statues, and I'm seeing those, how do you call them? I don't know exactly the name of it, but I'm seeing them, guys. So sorry, please bear with me. I do come from a different culture than the Chinese one. I do my best. So there was those lines, the red lines with golden thread through them. I think that you give for Chinese New Year. I think kind of like blessings written in a piece of paper that is very beautifully decorated. It's almost like where you would put chopsticks in, but this was not for chopsticks. This was just a written blessing, a kind of like a form of poetry, if you want to call it like that. There was this really strong sense of you having everything you need from a material perspective, okay? Not only were you blessed, but you were, there was a sense of excitement about you being there, about you growing up. You were so healthy and wealthy as well from the moment you were born. You were literally born with a golden spoon, okay? So I feel that as well in this beautiful kind of landscape. I feel like you had a house in the mountains somewhere. There was a waterfall very close to it. There were a lot of pine trees. I don't know, it's kind of like, I think this might have been the north of China. You were just surrounded by beautiful nature, surrounded by women that wanted to dote on you from the beginning. So you had a lot of maternal support. You had a lot of a sense of pride was conveyed to you from your own father, that you shall inherit everything that this man had. So you were from day one incredibly blessed and wealthy, and you had everything you needed from a material perspective. Yeah, celebrations all the time were happening in your home. There were people coming to eat. There were festivities. Your father had about 3 or 4 wives, from what I understand, or potentially even 5. And I do feel that there were a lot of like problems between them, because there was a sense of competitiveness, like who's the best and who can satisfy your father the most and who is the most caring mother, you know. And there were there were moments when they would have arguments and they would cry and they would smash plates, and you know, there was a bit of a drama. So you were constantly surrounded by people, wealth, but also drama. You saw from a very young age that riches are not the key to happiness. You could be surrounded by the best that nature has to offer, the unconditional support and admiration of your family. But ultimately, people did place a lot of importance on the acquisition of material goods. That's why you had so much, because the people in your family love collecting these goods. They love to celebrate, they love to have a lot of food and a lot of good drinks so that they could party, so that they could have these festivities, you know. But there was a sense of spiritual poverty in your home, as I'm seeing with all of these, a sense of loss, a sense of crying over spilt milk, a sense of defeat, a sense of not seeing the other cups that are still standing, not seeing the other emotional opportunities for forgiveness or for being kind or letting go. I feel like nobody in your family exercised these qualities. It was a lot about how well they look, how imposing they were, how proud they were in front of other people. So within this really gorgeous, I'm getting a little bit of a headache as well. It's kind of like you were surrounded by some people to such an extent that often, especially in your teens, as you were growing up, there was just too much attention. There was too much focus on material aspects, and you just needed time away from that, okay? So it's like your soul all of a sudden awoke. I feel like there was some conflict. Potentially you saw some people stealing, or there were some poor people in your neighborhood that were pushed to the side. Maybe they came begging around your house, and the people in the house, the servants, and I feel that the consorts of your father, so your stepmothers, I guess you would call them in this context, they pushed this poor family away, so they didn't give anything from their riches. And I think that was a moment when it's almost like you lived in a bubble, in a protective bubble, and you just realize, wait, there's a bigger world out there, and something in you, there was a soul stirring. It's like, but that's not right. And that was the beginning of your spiritual awakening. So I feel what you did completely out of the blue is you decided to go on your own, completely without money, completely without material goods. You completely shocked your father into a very dire kind of moment of awareness. What? It's like, we did all of this for you. You are supposed to be the leader of our family, and you are now leaving us. And I am touching my hair because I feel when I'm doing this, it's a strong activation of the crown chakra. So I feel that was your moment. That was your moment of connecting with the divine. It's like the divine placed this poor family in front of you to see how they are being shunned and treated. And it's given you a different view of society. You realize that not everybody lives in the same cocoon like you did. You wanted to go out into the world, and you wanted to experience. You wanted to live amongst the poor. You wanted to understand what is happening. Why is this great discrepancy in society between the wealthy and the poor? You wanted to have your own adventures, and so you did. So with the Hermit and the Fool, you took a bold leap forward, and you were like saying to your mom and dad, bye. I'm off on my new adventure. And I feel like your mom had a fit, like she would cry and hold on to your legs so that you wouldn't leave. Your father was also, there were a lot of dramatics happening, when you announced this decision. And again, your father was like very upset on you and tried to dissuade you. I feel like there were even some servants that were ordered to spike your food and drink with some laudanum, to calm you down and get you into a sleep so that they could maybe lock you someplace. It's like, it was really like very weird controlling family dynamics, but you overcame this and you left. You left in the middle of the night, only with a small satchel, and dressed in very simple, modest clothes. You had some sandals and you had like a robe around you. And I feel like you had long, beautiful black, long straight hair, and you tied it in a ponytail, so it's kind of like in a bun or something around your head, and you left, so that was the beginning of your initiation, the beginning of your spiritual awakening. You had an amazing life. You experienced everything from the point of view of emotions. You understood pain, you understood being without, you understood loss, you understood letting go. But you were bravely tackling all of this, almost like you were running a social experiment. So there was a part of you that remained attached, because a part of you knew that, you had a very strong sense of self-esteem. So it's as if you handled whatever life was throwing at you as you placed yourself voluntarily in these rough conditions. You handled it with a very illuminated consciousness. So you acquired all these experiences, and eventually it's almost like you became like a wandering monk, and you went from village to village to try to understand people, to try to help them. This resonates a lot with one of the stories with the military person that had a spiritual awakening in your past life love story, the first video I created. So if you chose that one, you might have chosen this one as well. There is a theme here across your several lifetimes about having the spiritual awakening. I'm not sure why you incarnated as a man in both of those stories, so this is only for those of you that chose that as well. But why I'm not getting from spirit any indication of why your gender changed, and you now potentially could be a woman. So I'm not sure exactly what happened here, why you had to go incarnated as a man. Maybe it had something to do with, especially in this story, with you being this kind of feeling like you're a chosen child and feeling the sense of pride and ego. And you needed to feel the sense of pride and ego. And I'm touching my eyes. It's almost like I'm opening my eyes, because your eyes needed to be opened, okay? To the fact that life is not all about you. It doesn't revolve around you and your male pride of being the son of the family and the proprietor of land. But it's about the spirit. It's about us having experiences in a human body, okay? And learning all sorts of things in life through the experience of our emotions, through the wide range gamut of emotions. So it's like emotions for you were kind of inaccessible somehow. And I think this is why you incarnated as a man, because you had to really get in touch with your emotions. And that was one of your biggest challenges. Okay, so you guys in this current lifetime, based on your past lifetime, could potentially be a North Node in Taurus, conjunct your Sun in Taurus. You are meant to a North Node in Scorpio. South Node in Taurus, South Node conjunct your Sun in Taurus. So you need to let go of ego. You need to let go of material stability and wealth in order to get more in touch with your emotions, in order to just experience the whole range of human intensity, right? North Node in Scorpio. You might be placed in completely random occurrences, in life and death situations where you are just asked to rise above by feeling your experiences and overcoming whatever challenge life is throwing at you. Surmount them, and thereby you will come into contact with your spirituality, with your true divinity, with your capacity to transmute negative emotions into positive ones. This is amazing. So you're able to overcome a lot of crisis moments based on, and a lot of intensity, a lot of dramatic, pain, violent situations. Because in a past life, you were, you attained almost like a good level of, almost like you attained nirvana, I feel like, by the end of your life. And you died in a very poor conditions, but internally, you were incredibly happy. You gathered all the experience that you wanted. So you went from the King of Pentacles, this is how you were born, to the Hermit, right? You removed yourself from society or from the social world into which you were born. You removed yourself from the richness and the wealth into which you were born to go out into the world and experience everything life had to offer. I feel like you fell in love, you had sex with more than just one woman, and you had a baby, and so you had a child yourself. But it's like you had this thing about, you did your job, you did your purpose, you acquired that experience, so you moved on. You might find it very hard to commit in your current reality. So you might find it very hard to get into emotions, and you might find it hard to commit. You might really enjoy having lots of experiences. And this is because of the fact that you were a wandering spiritual person in a past life. There was a disjuncture there between you needing to balance material with spiritual themes, because it was a bit extreme the way you approached it in a past life, right? It's kind of like either materialism or full spirituality. Either, I have lots of experiences, but then I'm leaving my family and my child. So in this current lifetime, I feel like you are being asked to balance materialism with spirituality. I feel like you are meant to teach, share your knowledge, have a lot of experiences, but then use this in the service of other people. Because in a past lifetime, you did become this wandering monk, and you did help people relatively by wandering around from village to village. You did impact their lives, but it's not like you helped awaken them to the fact that they too can change their conditions, that they too have the power to manifest. So in this current lifetime, I feel like you would do well to work as a healer, or you would do well to be a teacher, even in a higher university environment, to just let others, awaken others, help people change the way that they understand reality, and thereby shift the conditions of their material lives towards something better, towards something more prosperous, more drama-free, where they can generally control the violent conditions of their life rather than be dominated by them. And I feel like a pang of hunger as I'm doing your reading right now. It's close to lunchtime. But it's also the fact that you might have this hunger for experiences in this current lifetime, okay? So now you know why, okay? You were a wandering monk, more or less, in a past lifetime. So there is a theme here, not of completely discarding material and spiritual goods, but of trying to find a way to combine them. And now I want to get into your oracle messages, okay? So I'm really, really interested to see what popped up for you and if it fits with the cards that I shuffled earlier. Oh yeah, I did say about this, right? So let's see how they connect. You had the 6 of Hearts and the 5 of Dark Hearts. And we also have this Yellow Rose, Enthusiasm and Friendship. A single rose can be my garden, a single friend my world. Beautiful. And then we have Yellow Jasper, Control Issues. Oof. Oof. Utilize your God-given strength and power instead of fearing that others may try to control you. Exactly. That's basically what you broke away from, the control of your family. It was very beautiful. It was like a beautiful gilded environment in which you lived, right? But it was nonetheless very controlling. And it was shown by how dramatic your parents were in trying to kind of grab at you and not let you go when you left, when normally parents would be happy when their child leaves their nest. But you also did it in quite intense, dramatic conditions, which kind of sparked their need to control you. So there was a give and take there, right? I feel like in your current reality, you need to be very aware of control issues, and especially of getting into intimate situations where people control you with money and wealth. And finally, what was I saying about pride and ego? And while I was thinking about, why did you reincarnate as a wealthy man? Well, it was because of this. You had to rise up to this consciousness. Leo, the sun, having it all, being the superstar, having the attention focused completely on you. So confidence is your key to success, new moon in Leo. New moons could be really significant for you. You could dream about themes from your past life in China. You could dream about wandering. You could be very attracted to the teachings of Buddha and not know what, or to Buddhism in general, maybe even to Confucianism. I feel like there's just such a beautiful world. You might dream of lush vegetation and gardens. You might dream of wealth and banquets. Potentially you were born in completely the opposite conditions nowadays. You might struggle with money. You might struggle with confidence. So if you have these things, if you end up in situations where you end up in controlling patterns and your confidence is being seeped, just know that in a past lifetime, you were so wealthy. So you carry this abundance consciousness into your current reality. So choose friendship. Choose to deal with everything in a positive way. Choose to know that there is always more. So if you leave a certain situation that is abusive or controlling, trust that you will be taken care of. There will be something. The universe will organize actions will bring you the right people on the path that you need to meet to help rise you above your current conditions. You can create a lot of wealth in this lifetime, but you have to be careful about keeping a connection to spirit as well. Yeah, with the yellow rose. Yellow roses could actually be very important in your life. Wear some yellow jasper as well. Yellow, right? I think Lao Tzu was wearing, was it Lao Tzu or Confucius who was wearing a lot of yellow because he believed that this was the color of spirituality, of the sun, of light, right? Wearing yellow could really help you, could even emphasize that understanding that you are a light. You could potentially be a light worker as well. So don't be afraid of intense emotions. Don't be afraid of abundance mentality and creating a lot of prosperity in your life. Be confident. Trust in your intuition. Trust in yourself. Trust in the divine, okay? Yeah, I feel a lot of you could have North Nodes in Aries as well. You have to have that bold step forward into the unknown and watch how the universe provides for you and cares for you. And you need to be a pioneer, a spiritual warrior for other people to go where no man has gone before. There you go, Star Trek reference. I'm gonna end the message here because I feel like the energy is settled, okay guys? So it was a pleasure for me to actually do this reading for you. I hope it resonated. Bear in mind this is a general reading. If you want a more personal reading, I do offer a past life ancestor message reading. More details down below, the link to my services. I continue to be open until the 5th of June when I need to retreat for a period of rest and study, just like you did in a past life as a hermit. Okay guys, I send you so much love and light. Hope to see you soon. Bye bye. Hi, pile number 4. This is for those of you that were drawn to the Amethyst brass ring. Welcome. How are you? I hope you're well, guys. So today I'm going to, as I mentioned in the other piles, I'm going to look into your past life story. But for each pile, I will use a different tarot deck. So you guys got the Deviant Moon Tarot. And I also pre-shuffled some oracle cards. I have 3 here. And I will use these at the end to see what wisdom you bring from your past life themes to apply to your current present situation, okay? So we're gonna try to see how wisdom from your past life can be applied to your present situation. Maybe there are some really interesting insights. I don't know. I hope this helps. So let's start. Pile number 4. Wow. Whoa. Okay, that's very straightforward. I feel like the energy has shifted a little bit. Let me move the camera a little bit centered. There we go. So there is something here. I touched my eyebrow earlier and centering. There is something here about focusing. I feel like your past life, whatever you were doing in a past life, required a lot of focus. You have so many cards. Okay, let me just show them to you in a second. Great. Okay, so you got the 7 of Pentacles. Then you got the 2 of Pentacles. A lot about pentacle energy. Then you've got the 9 of Pentacles. The Queen of Wands. The Knight of Cups. The Page of Swords. The 10 of Pentacles. Whoa, it's so much about money again. What's happening? Pile number 1 and number 3 had some very strong material spiritual themes. But let's see, I think that this is about something else. The 6 of Cups. The 3 of Swords. And the 7 of Swords. Immediately, the synchronicity that I see here is 7-7 for you, okay? Super strong, angelic protection, okay? So you are guarded. You were guarded in your past life. You are guarded in this current life by angels. So you have a lot of presences around you. Maybe you feel them on your skin. Maybe you see them with the corner of your eye. Keep in mind, guys, that you could potentially see some discoloration in the corner of your eye when you are very tired. So this could mean usually 2 things. Either you need to rest more because your eyes are tired, but also, you know, when we are tired and we are close to those really interesting brain waves, I think it was the delta or the theta waves, we also tend to pick up on unseen presences. So it could be that you genuinely see your angels and your spirits around you. Okay, so Needless to say, you were in a three-party situation in a past life. You were married to a man and you had a lover. Why? Well, because you were an awesome queen. No, not really a queen, but you were a woman of high standing, a woman that was very passionate, very sexy. You were oozing sexuality. You were very confident. You were able to stand your ground in your power. You were this kind of person that would just see something, think, and blurt it out. There was no filter. It was unbelievable. But you somehow managed to say the truth, and you somehow managed to say it in such a way that it came across as sexy or charming or to your advantage. Okay, so you were a very good communicator. You were very confident. You stood your ground. You were super attractive. And I feel that you married quite early on in life. I'm getting some 1920s vibe. Yeah, the roaring 20s, right? The jazz age. That was a little bit kind of on the fringe, yeah, but definitely. I'm getting like smoky nightclubs. I'm getting those really luxe automobiles, like the first Ford models or the improved Ford models. I'm getting Rolls Royce as well. Smoky nightclubs. You could have sang there on stage, so you could have been definitely with the Queen of Wands. This is Aries, Leo, or Sagittarius energy. So somebody who is a performer, somebody who's not afraid to just be like, la, you know, and just stand in front of a lot of people and command respect and admiration and just, you know. Guys, we got interrupted, and remarkably, we got interrupted at 4:44. So again, another synchronicity for you. So 77 and 444 are really important angel love numbers. I had like a momentary like, what? 444, 414? Anyway, 414 could be a really significant angel number. Wow, this energy is on fire. Okay, so sorry about the interruption. As I was saying, you were a person that was very bold, that lived to entertain other people. You were the center of attention, okay? You got married quite early on. That was what people did in those days. Your husband was of a similar age with you. He was very kind and he was very sweet, a Knight of Cups kind of guy, very romantic. I think he was a little bit chubby, like on a chubbier side. He was a bit kind of like his height. There was a height difference between you and him, so you were taller than him as well, more commanding, you know. He looked like a younger brother next to you, or like a relative, you know. It was very strange, but you almost kind of have you know, you had a friendship. This guy married you. He was relatively well off, but it was mostly like you guys had some sort of companionship, you know. It was more like, hey, you know, I can make you a star. Why don't you come and sing in my cafe? Then you got married because he was the guy that kind of launched your career. And I think this is how he kind of extracted some sort of like social status from the fact that he was together with such a beautiful woman. But I don't really see you and this guy being like madly in love, or I don't even see that this guy necessarily kind of sexually satisfied you. You were kind of in a way pushed to find your happiness with someone else. And the remarkable thing is that you did. And there was this guy, the Page of Swords. So there was I think this was a writer or an intellectual of some sort, somebody that was a heavy thinker. I don't know if he was a scientist, or I'm getting automobile creator or something, like not a car mechanic, but like he would design the cars. He was like an engineer, I guess. Page of Swords is a lot about, you know, thinking. It's not that much about doing. It's about being a good communicator and kind of starting off on communication beginning. So I feel like this person, and I'm really touching my head a lot. I don't know why, but I think that potentially there was something about the head. Oh, I think you might have left your life in a car accident. So I think you had a car accident and you smashed your head, and that's how you died. It was a really heavy concussion. Oh, but what? Wait, okay. Whew. I'm getting messages from all over the place as I'm channeling your energy. Your energy is very feisty. It's very direct. It's very like boom in your face. You know, here you go. All the story right now. As I'm saying, I think it's because you are protected by spirit. Okay, so let's find out what happened. So you were married to this guy who was kind of like a friend. He was the guy that launched you in your career, and you took on a lover. You took this guy who used to come and see you sing after work, and I think that he just wanted to meet you backstage, and that's how you became friends, and then you became lovers, and it was kind of like a classical, almost like a classical Hollywood story, you know, like you are this really beautiful person singing on stage, and then all of a sudden, you know, you attract admirers and you end up with them somehow, you know. Sorry guys, my hair is like all over the place. There is something here about hair. I'm so drawn. I didn't do this. I didn't feel the need to arrange my hair so much and be so hair conscious in other piles. But in your pile, I think that this has to do with hair. You could be a Leo. Leos are very proud of their hair. Usually they have very beautiful, very beautiful set of hair. There is something here about pride in your hair. Maybe there are issues in your current lifetime with having too thin hair, or your hair is not growing really quickly or fast enough. And in a previous lifetime, I just want you to know that, yeah, you looked stunning. You had like a beautiful flowing mane of hair, and that was part of your allure, you know. It's almost like mermaid-like. So, okay, I'll stop playing with my hair now and move on to the interpretation of your life. So we have here, yeah, definitely the Two of Swords. Do you see her? Like she's an entertainer, like almost like a belly dancing, like a gypsy kind of flair. It gives me more like, I don't even know, but she wasn't, I mean, she was really well known back then, but she wasn't a gypsy singer in any way. Josephine Baker, she was so beautiful and so talented, and really a pioneer back in those days, you know. So yeah, that kind of vibe is what you give me. Josephine Baker was also really very much empowered by her sexuality. So I do think that there is something here about you kind of even pioneering some sort of classy, like risque dancing, almost to the brink of stripping, like close to modern day stripping. But I think you used a lot of veils, you used a lot of like elegance. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, you used a lot of elegant, the adjective, not the noun. Yeah, a lot of elegant props, you know. Yeah, I'm getting kind of like Dita Fonteese vibes, you know, as she's stripping in a champagne glass, something like that. So, yeah, you took it one step further as your career progressed, and it was like, woof, it's like you kept attracting even larger numbers of people. I'm getting like this happened somewhere in Chicago, or Michigan. I don't know why. I keep channeling like certain parts in America, and especially in these past life stories. It's like maybe a large part of my soul group is from Chicago or from Michigan. I don't know. But this is what I'm getting. So yeah, it was kind of like that epoch where they were close to prohibition in America, I think. You know, it was, yeah, people were wearing bowler hats, you know, and those kind of weird kind of mobster hats. And yeah, there was an atmosphere of like sexy, smoky darkness. I don't know. That's kind of what I'm getting from these cards. And what happened in your life? How did you end up in that car crash? Well, yeah, all of a sudden things kind of went a bit haywire. There was a lot of drama surrounding you. I think that you generally had people attack you once, so it just so happened that some people attacked you. I feel like there was an argument that was started in the club in which you were dancing and performing between some of your admirers, and there was a lot of like backstabbing, a lot of like people throwing stuff, you know, at you at one point. You know, men kind of taking it to kind of crossing the boundary many times and thinking that you owe them sex. It was just really weird as the atmosphere changed, you know, from 0 to 100 all of a sudden. It's like the power you emanated was very strong, and then it kind of made people give in to their lower kind of vibrations, like very negative aspects around you, you know, especially if these people, you know, if alcohol was involved or the consumption of other drugs. It was just a mess. And as I'm saying this, a lot of light appeared from the outside. So there is something here about, yeah, it's like the energy shifted somehow in your life. And I'm not exactly sure. I don't really see it what happened because, you know, technically you are protected by angels, but there is just, I think it was part of your soul's progress to have this kind of boost in self-esteem, to be crowned as a queen, to become this really desired performer in every man's fantasy. And then it's kind of like you went in your downfall, or you suffered your downfall. I think a lot of this had to do with your lover. Oh, yeah, I think you were very sad because of the fact that you couldn't just live with this man and you continue to stay married to your husband. Your husband, I think, was a little bit jealous, Knight of Cups. So he was quite possessive. He was like, it didn't bother him that much that other men would consider you attractive, but it did bother him that you started this liaison with the Page of Swords. So there was the drama that was kind of affecting you regarding the romantic situation in which you found yourself. In your present lifetime, you could either attract or fall in love with unavailable men, or you could be in a three-party situation, or you could really be triggered by a third-party situation. So you really don't stand the word. You find it very emotional when you think about, you know, sharing your partner with someone else. And just so you know, this stems from a past life. I'm still playing with my hair. I don't know what's happening, guys. It's just a lot of like hair and kind of, what is happening? Control. I think it's kind of like making sure everything looks perfect. Yeah, because in your past lifetime, you had to look perfect, right? You knew that people are gonna watch you. Whoa, interesting energy. Okay, moving on. So you had the heartbreak, you had the people. I think like you had a lot of women envying you as well. A lot of men wanted to sleep with you, and you know, a lot of married men came to the club, and it's like women just really wanted to like even pull your hair or like throw tomatoes at you and things like that, because they thought you were like a temptress, you know, like you know, like a deviled woman or something like that. So yeah, I'm getting like Rita Hayworth, you know. Oh my God, it's just such a like classical black and white movie setting, like really really beautiful, like a film noir, you know. But at the same time, it's kind of sad because I do feel that, you know, you could have ended up being somebody really awesome, but it was just, you know, your progress was halted because of all this envy and enmity. And the worst thing is that you took it to heart, so it started affecting your health. And I see here that, you know, yeah, you could have had such a lovely career. You could have been like number one, top notch, right? Even you could have actually went on to go to, you know, Los Angeles and work in Hollywood or something like that. You had that star-like quality, but it was just, you were just kept you were kept away from this kind of world. I feel like there was some physical violence as well that happened. You know, some men grabbed you, somebody even tried to sexually impose themselves on you. You just needed protection, and your husband did what he could, but he wasn't like a really kind of like protective wolf kind of guy, and there were a lot of men that wanted you. So all of a sudden, I think that in the middle of your life, you kind of turned away. You kind of said, you know what, stop, press pause, enough with this, and you retreated. You retreated, and the miracle was that you actually became ultra domestic. So you broke up with the man you loved and you continued to live with your husband, but it's like you shunned away. It's like you covered your body, you were wearing very modest clothes, you were minimalist. You know, I see you wearing a lot of black, I see you ordering a lot of white flowers. Kala lilies especially are super important. In some cultures, kala lilies are given to marriage or funerals. So there was a sense there of you ending a chapter of your life that was very focused on the body and the self and you being the center of attention, and all of a sudden retreating. And what I actually see that you started doing is you always had this passion for, so like see, I'm still playing with my hair. So this thing with correcting, controlling, making sure all the details are right. You always had this in mind because I feel like you had a very mathematical and logical mind. But because you were a woman and because of the circumstances of the time and because you're very beautiful and attractive, you ended up doing this performing act rather than actually enhancing your mind. So I feel that all the drama kind of was sent by spirit to help you realize that focusing on the pleasures of the body and focusing on being this temptress is not really your spiritual path. Your spiritual path was actually retreating from the limelight, and you started teaching children, on it's kind of like, you know, when you have extracurricular activities and you have like a teacher that you go to after school, so that you would get additional classes like tutoring, right? Private tutoring. And he started private tutoring for children, okay? Children in school. You never had your own children. You didn't really want to get impregnated by your husband. I'm not even sure that your husband was able to give you children anyway, because I think he had some health issues and some, you know, impotency aspects, which only made you want to kind of like stand out and make yourself more desirable by other men, right? But you resolved those issues, and in the end you ended up living with your best friend, your husband, right? I don't know what happened to this guy, but I do think that he might have been jailed, or I'm getting a fist fight, and yeah, I think he got jailed because of some sort of public violence, or he was running an undercover operation, and then yeah, they caught him, you know. So it's kind of like you put that story to rest as well, and you retreated from this beautiful career of becoming a singer, dancer, model, actress, and you became like a very elegant, very melancholic tutor, private tutor for school children. And you taught them how to play the piano, from what I hear. You taught them how to play chess, and you taught them diction, how to enunciate things properly, you know? Really beautiful. So you kind of used the skills that you had during your performances, minus the chess playing, I guess. But you did have to be a good strategist in order to handle all those people. So yeah, it's really interesting. It's like I do see these changing narratives. So I don't know what happened, guys, but if you're feeling tired in your current life, it's because you did a lot in your past life. Just so you know, okay? So I'm gonna go now and get into the oracle cards. What was I saying? Oh my god! Kala lilies. Kala lilies are so significant. I'm sorry if this was a bit too boof, but oh my god, I did mention kala lilies. You ordered exactly these type of lilies I had in my mind. So you ordered kala lilies, and I see that you were dressed in black and really nice, like covering your body, and you know you had a chignon, and like you were wearing pearls, and you had all these beautiful white bouquets of flowers everywhere in your home, and it smelled very strong. I think that a couple of your students were sneezing when they came over. Some of them had allergies, or some of them I can just hear them. It's like, this smells funny, lady. You know, like, what's that smell? It smells funny, lady. You know, so they had that kind of like kind of slang, you know, way of speaking. And yeah, very cute. So you projected this image of majesty and virtue. So you retreated, almost like you went from being the Queen of Wands, you retreated and you became the High Priestess, you know. Beautiful. And we also have here Dolomite, stay strong in your faith. There is such a theme with a lot of your piles, guys, with you retreating from material pleasures to find God, or to find some sort of spiritual connection, or just to experience peacefulness, I think, you know, moving away from the drama and moving into peacefulness. Sorry, my eye was caught by the fact that I think a neighbor is looking at me as I'm filming. So again, there's this thing about, see how reality kind of plays into this reading as well. There's this thing about being looked, right? Being, knowing that people look you and controlling that gaze through what you project. You had a keen sense of feeling people were looking at you. I think like maybe in your present life at the moment, you have this sixth sense, like even if your back is turned to someone who might be staring at you, you feel that somebody has their eye on you. Or even like on social media, if somebody stalks you, you feel it, you know, you have a sixth sense about it. It's because of your past life training, okay? So it says here, a positive outcome is dependent on you keeping a positive mindset. Exactly, okay? So I feel like you would have ended up being a really fantastic star in the past life if you wouldn't have allowed the envy and enmity of other people and the drama that you created get to you. I feel like you would have empowered yourself more if you just realized that, oh, people have such strong reactions to me, then it must be that I'm doing something right? Because Because think about it, all the important people in history, an example comes to mind, Sigmund Freud, right? They had haters and they had devout, okay? So not just people that loved what they were saying and agreed with them, but they had people that, you know, studied their work and then ended up practicing it. So kind of devout fans or devout loyal people. But they also had, you know, detractors. They also had people that, you know, got upset and left the room. And there was a lot of drama around Sigmund Freud, for example, right? When he first started sharing his theories and sharing them to a very conservative Viennese landscape. So why I'm using this example with Freud is that you had the same effect, you know, you could polarize people. People either really loved you or really hated you. Very strong Pluto influence here, very Plutonic past life. So in this current lifetime, I feel like you are being asked to detach from, if you have been brought with a sixth sense, with this understanding of the occult, with you have like a very seductive air around you. It doesn't matter how you look. It doesn't matter how you dress or your size, shape, or, you know, race or culture. It's all about, you carry an air of ultra sexiness about you. And both men and women, pets, children, everyone is attracted to you because you just have that kind of Lilith-like energy. So you are really being asked to not let other people's opinion detract you from your path in this present lifetime. Look at the big picture. Don't focus so much on the details. Don't focus so much on he said, she said that about me. Oh my God. No, 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 no. Just keep in mind you are going to have a strong influence in your environment because you carry this beautiful witchy, but not even witchy, it's like bewitching, you know, a jewel like Queen of Wands energy from a past life. Okay, you can create fantasies out of thin air, and people love that because you offer them escapism. Some of you watching this pile are Pisces. Some of you watching this pile are Scorpios. Okay, I really feel strong influence here, and some are Leos. You saw how the energy calmed down, right? It was just something about the hair and feeling the need to just like touch it constantly. There might be some issues with hair. Hair does represent sexuality. You know, in the legend of Samson and Delilah, Samson's hair was a symbol of power, right? So yeah, virility, of sexuality. So there is something here of you owning a lot of that energy within you from a past life. And in this present lifetime, in order to in order to just have success in whatever it is you're doing and to generally attract love, because I'm so drawn to how much pink it is in these two colors, you need to adopt the Sagittarius mindset. I am protected because you are. I stay strong in my faith because this is how you will succeed, and you won't let people detract you. And you are aware of how beautiful you are, and you just need to accept that, and not everybody's gonna love you. People are gonna have very strong reactions towards you. Just push that away, you know, ignore, and move on. Move on, proceed with your path, okay? I see that this is the way in which you're gonna cleanse some of the past life karma that happened when you know, you took on the hurt and the criticism of other people, and you allowed yourself to feel a lot of pain. Okay, because to a certain extent people can only hurt us to the extent that we let them. So people might try to say hurtful things or do hurtful things to us, but it's all about how we interpret the situation. We can be grateful for the lesson and then completely detract the negative emotional effects of that person's influence on us. I hope that makes sense, okay? Just know that if people envy you in this lifetime, then you're on the right path, okay? Envy is the best form of admiration. You're doing something exceptionally well if you have people envying you. Otherwise, they wouldn't be paying attention, okay? Just complete. If people ignore you, then that's an issue, okay? If you become completely invisible, then that's a bigger issue than if people envy you, okay? So that's the message I had for you, pile number 4. I hope you enjoyed it, okay? Keep in mind, this has been a general reading. Please feel free to get in touch with me if you feel called, if you feel drawn towards my energy. A link to my personal services is down in the description box. I have availability until the 5th of June, when coincidentally we are having a full moon in Sagittarius, okay? So there you go. Maybe this is the pile that might get a reading from me around that time. Feel free to get in touch. I send you so much love and so much light, and I love you so much. See you next time. Bye. Hey, pile 5. Welcome, my loves. How are you? I hope this finds you well. So today we're going to explore who you were in a past life, what were some of the details and themes of your past life. I'm going to be using a different tarot deck for each. By the way, this is for if you were attracted to this gold ring with a black stone. So I'm going to be using a tarot deck. Each pile got a different tarot deck, and you got the traditional classical Rider-Waite tarot. And as well, I've pre-shuffled some oracle cards, 3 in number, and I'll use these at the end to try to see if there is some sort of like additional message of clarification regarding what is the wisdom you're bringing from a past life and how can it benefit you in the present. I don't know what's up with the energy today, guys. It's been taking me almost a whole day to make these videos. And I don't know, it's like very strange kind of energy to handle. Check the other piles because we had some fun in them. Okay, but I'll do my best to interpret this energy. So who were you in a past life? Let's see, let's shuffle. Okay. The Ace of Swords, the Two of Swords. The energy is increasing. From the Ace we go to the 2. And then we have the 4 of Cups, the Sun, the 2 of Pentacles. So immediately the synchronicity I see for you is 2-2. The Knight of Wands, everyone's favorite adventurer. The 5 of Wands, the 4 of Wands, the 10 of Wands. Wow, okay. One of the piles, the previous piles got a lot of pentacle energy. You got a lot of Wands energy. What is this about? My beautiful pile 5. Who were you in a past life? You were definitely married to a very good looking man, okay? So it's kind of the opposite of pile number 4, where you were the good looking kind of feisty, fiery presence. In your past life, you were the one that was married to a really good looking, very charming, well-built, charismatic, like sociable, flirty, that kind of a guy, you know, that energy of hello, I am here, I know I am every man, sorry, I know I'm every man and woman's dream, actually. You know, I'm here to conquer you, I'm here to overtake you. This was a bit of a guy who had, you can imagine, an ego, quite arrogant, quite like he wanted something and he did it. He didn't consider it to be a selfish type of behavior, but it was selfish, and it was not at all taking into account your feelings about this. I feel like you're mostly in this kind of energy. Yeah, I feel like this applies to you very strongly. So you were kind of in a 2 of Swords and in a 4 of Cups energy. I'm getting Denmark. Oh, Denmark in the 1960s? Yeah. I'm getting, I don't know, festen. I keep hearing festen. Like celebrations, I think it means. I don't know Danish at all. I know a little bit about the culture, but yeah, that's what I'm getting. I'm even kind of seeing that statue of the Little Mermaid in Copenhagen, right? I think that you were part of a wealthy middle-class family that married you quite young. I'm hearing 22 again, so 2-2. At the age of 22, you got married. Well, 1960s, yeah, it was okay. It was still quite young. It was an appropriate age to get married. I was thinking whether 22 was too old because, you know, back in the days, women were married at 16 or even 12. So, yeah, you got married to this individual and he was like super good looking and very cocky, you know, very like, as I said, you know, I'm every person's dream. You know, I'm here to make your fantasy come true. I'm getting kind of like Archer vibes, you know. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that show, but yeah, I feel like you had a very beautiful home, very stylish. It was decorated in very somber details, but it was a hub of entertainment. Like you would entertain a lot of friends, you would have coffee dates with a lot of them. They would visit your home. You were very thin. You had very thin eyebrows, and you were very kind of like, I don't know, you looked a little bit like a wasp, like the body and the way you moved. It was very like you had very pointed features. And I think I'm kind of getting. Do you know the actress Maggie Gyllenhaal? Kind of like that. You look like that. You know, you're very sensual, but very shy and reclusive. And your husband was exactly the opposite. He was like ha 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 ha. You know, like dancing on the table, like smashing. You know. A beer container and getting another one like but he was like, I don't know, he was very like ruggedly charming, you know. That was the thing, a little bit Viking style, right? So yeah, I do see somebody that was if we're situating this in Denmark, I mean, I don't want to make appeals to some sort of cultural cliches, guys, but this is kind of what I'm getting. He's a little bit like he was very good looking, as I said, very well built, traditional masculine kind of attractive body, and he had a beard, a little bit of a beard or a stubble. And yeah, you guys, by all intents and purposes, it looked from the outside like you had the perfect marriage. However, this man had some sort of anger issues, so he would drink a lot. As I said, he would smash things after he drank, and he would philander a lot. So he would disappear from home a couple of nights and then come back to you almost like nothing happened, you know, like I don't know, very Scorpio, low vibrational energy. That's what I'm getting. It's like he wanted to get back at you almost by sleeping with other women, but he was also just generally not giving that much of an F, if you know what I mean. So this is really heartbreaking because I feel that you really liked him. You really thought, oh my God, he's so different from me. And you had kind of like that innocence, you know, it's like, oh, I'm going to marry him, that's going to be great. But it ended up being really difficult for you, you know, and you just retreated more into yourself, you know, like it's like you wanted to resume yourself to the fact that, well, he's just my husband, what can I do? You know, we have a good home. My parents wanted me to marry him, and it was kind of frowned upon for you to separate. You had to kind of stick it out, you know, in your marriage. And there were frequent arguments, and there were frequent moments when you were just like, I just want to give up, you know, what's the point of this? But I think that because this guy was also very because he was so good looking, you know, and because he was very sexual as well and magnetic, I feel like you ended up having a lot of like makeup sex with this guy, you know, so it was very passionate. And for you, I feel like it was, you did, you know, you did love him, I would say. I would go so far as to say that. It was that familiarity, you know, you enjoyed the fact that he was your husband and you wanted to please him, but he had issues. He had some massive issues. I'm hearing authority conflicts with his dad. I feel like he always struggled with his dad. He never wanted to listen to him. I feel like potentially there might have been some physical abuse. His dad used to physically punish him quite a lot. So he had a lot of anger, you know, that he needed to get out of his system. And he would sometimes project it on you, but you had a very like, you almost had like this kind of, because you were shy and intelligent, and as I said, you were very like elegant, I don't know, it's like almost like you were put on a pedestal. And even though he had these moments when he would smash things around the house, or just after he was drinking, he'd smash a cup, he would never like lay a finger on you. It was all about verbal abuse. Like you would get into arguments with this guy and just shout awful things at each other. You were very clever in how you manipulated the words. And you would bring out the worst in each other in those moments, you know. You would criticize him for being an alcoholic and an adulteress, you know, and he would think that you're too prim and proper and pristine and, you know, all sorts of things like that. So you might find a sort of weird attraction to kind of like very well-built macho kind of guys, you know, that have a twinkle of sparkle and adventure in their eyes, but actually are very hard to commit to. They're very hard to tame. There was a big issue with taming this guy. I mean, the Knight of Wands is not tameable. I'm sorry, guys, but you know, he's every woman's dream, but he swoops in and he swoops out because he's got the whole world to explore. He's not gonna stay just in one station, so to say. Yeah. So yeah, there were frequent breakups. I think that this also tarnished your reputation a little bit because people knew that, you know, you had this tempestuous relationship, and it was frowned upon that you were supposed to be very controlled and have like portray a very respectable image, but you had very passionate arguments, and I feel like your parents were always like, I can see them going like, you don't know how to control your husband, you know, things like that. So it's kind of like some of his behavior was poorly reflected on you, even though, you know, you had no fault of your own in the situation. It was just that this guy had some issues that had to be handled, potentially by professional help, you know. And yeah, I do feel that Four of Cups here, it's just, it's kind of throwing me in a loop, the Four of Cups. Why is the Four of Cups here? I feel like your husband had, because I do see the Two of Pentacles and the Two of Swords, I feel like your husband had a friend, you know, like a best friend or something, and that guy really, really fancied you, you know, and I feel like this guy's, so you're, sorry, I feel like you're, the friend of your husband was very familiar to what this guy was doing. Sometimes he would drop by and have coffee with you and tell you what your husband was doing when you didn't know, especially in the beginning when he started disappearing in the middle of the night and you didn't know what was going on. This friend came and told you a lot of things. I feel like this guy really loved you, and he was so sad to see how his best friend was treating you, you know. This guy was more compatible with you. He was much more of a quiet, peaceful type of guy, you know. He never married, and he actually stayed by your side for a very long time. And I feel like he really wanted to give you love, you know. I feel like you felt it. You felt that there could be something there. And I genuinely also feel like if when your husband and his best friend would go camping or boys' night out or something like this, or hunting, I'm getting what? Okay, yeah, hunting. Weird habit. Anyway, when they go out and do something like this, I feel like they would argue sometimes. Like they would drink and then they would get into an argument about you. So believe it or not, you thought that you were invisible to your husband, but actually you had two men that were arguing over you. One that couldn't love you but also couldn't leave you, your husband, and the other one that loved you and was not going to leave you, but you know, he was not your husband. So unfortunately you didn't entertain anything with him. I'm not getting that anything sexual happened between the two of you guys. So yeah, it's caught between the devil and the deep blue sea, right? Caught between two options. Not being aware of the fact that this guy loved you until later on in life. And I do get that you experienced a lot of happiness. There was a lot of clarity coming into your life after a string of really tempestuous years. I think in your 20s, in your past life, you were really tried and tested in this marriage. But what happened? I want to pull one more card to try to understand what happened with your husband. Because all of a sudden, it's like you were in this situation of like, I can't do it anymore. And then all of a sudden, the sun, you know, illumination, happiness, freedom. So what happened? I feel like potentially you might have separated from your husband. He left and never came back. So you got the Two of Wands, you got the Page of Swords, you got the Five of Pentacles. Loss. And the church behind it kind of makes me think that in the eyes of God, you all of a sudden you were separated. This guy left and did not come back. He's like, I'm packing my things, bye-bye, I'm out. Whoa. And you were free. You were free. But on the other side, on the other hand, sorry, not side, you always kept wondering, you know, it's like you were always waiting for this beginning, like almost like, should we cut the court? Should we separate officially? Are we still married? Is this guy alive? There was always a part of you that was always wondering about what happened to this guy. You could potentially fall into situations in the present where you experience a very frequent case of ghosting. Situations where you don't know what happens to the people that you're dating. You're connecting with them very deeply on an intimate level, and then they just disappear. Or you have these dynamics where men just swoop into your life and then they swoop out of your life. This is why, okay? Because of the memory of being married to this untamable Knight of Wands, okay? This passionate guy that just one day did not come home. I mean, there are a lot of cases in the 1950s and 1960s, you know, in families that just the mother one day went to buy milk and did not come home, or the father did the same, went to pick up the post, you know, and did not come home. And I feel that you are one of those cases, you know, but it's not about your parents, it's about your husband that just did not return. And you had a new beginning. So I also pulled these cards for you. So we have the Nine of Pentacles and the Ace of Wands. So we had a new beginning in terms of sexuality. I see it here, right? I feel like you eventually started a relationship with his best friend, even though you weren't officially married, but you're also like single. It's been, I'm hearing 2 years, like you waited 2 years for him to return and nothing happened. Again, right? 222. Check that angel love number. It's super significant for you. You could be seeing it quite often lately. So yeah, you started a relationship, you made your choice, or the choice was rather made for you. I feel that this was divine intervention because the divine saw that you were suffering, and you just experienced a relationship that gave you a lot of your self-worth back. You experienced a lot of blissful moments of lovemaking with this guy. You had this intimacy that you've created throughout time because he was always there and he wasn't going to leave you. And you finally could just, you know, consummate your relationship and you could be together. Yeah, but a part of you always kind of had this Knight of Wands in your heart. It's like, what happened to him, you know? Technically, you're still married, but he just was never to be seen again. So yeah, ghosting, right? Ghosting. People just like coming in and disappearing, or friends coming in and disappearing. These could be some of the themes that you might be experiencing in your present lifetime because of the karma of your past lifetime. So let's hear oracle messages to wrap up your reading. We have here hydrangea, thankfulness for understanding. It says here, before we can forgive one another, we have to understand one another. Yeah. And I feel the need to just like let my shoulders down. It's like, you just need to let these situations go. If people come in and out of your life, if they disappear, let them go and let them to God, okay? All you need to do is to be thankful for the experience. I feel like this is a very strong spiritual lesson that you had to learn in your past life, and it's coming back, you know. If you're still struggling with these dynamics, there is a sense here of, yeah, you need to grasp this spiritual lesson. Then we also have kyanite. Make time for self-care. Definitely put yourself front and center in your life, okay? I feel like you've suffered a lot of blows to your self-esteem because of your critical parents, because of other friends that were talking behind your back, because of this guy that was coming in and out and playing with your heart and your emotions. So you could have some fears around connecting with someone. A lot of you that are watching this and chose this pile and have resonate a lot with this past life, you could have Venus in Capricorn in this current lifetime. You could have Venus conjunct Saturn. You could have North Node in Libra. Okay, so it's all about caring for yourself, remaining connected to others, but also giving back to yourself. Give to yourself first and then to others, okay? First to you and then to others, and then their encouragement and support and love is gonna feed back into you, and then you give it to others. So accept love, accept support, and give love and give support. And if situations are mysterious, accept the mystery. North Node in Pisces as well. Hey, oh, yeah. So you could have Venus conjunct Neptune as well, not only Saturn. So it's not just about delays and obstacles, but it's a lot about the fog, the unknown, the delusion, the what if? Is this person caught up in a different dimension? Are they in the upside down? So yeah, you can imagine, yeah? But yeah, make time for self-care. Wearing kyanite could also really help you in recalling some of the past life connections. So putting you first, and look, I just said Libra, and there we go. We have the full moon in Libra. A win-win outcome is forecast. I think it's really important in your present situation to just, as you're letting go and as you're accepting the mystery of life, the mystery of love, I feel like it's really important to keep the faith. Keep the faith that you will eventually find a partner. Things are going to work out somehow, just as they did in your past life, right? You had divine intervention. You had a new sexy beginning. You finally could be together with your person's friend who decided to consummate the relationship with you after your husband disappeared. So don't worry, things are gonna work out okay. You don't need to protect your heart so strongly. Yeah, people might act in really erratic ways, okay? A lot of you could be having a very strong Uranus in the 7th house transit. You get to meet a lot of spontaneously crazy people with that kind of transit. I know, because it's happening to me at the moment. So understand that this is just a lesson. It's meant to spiritualize your life. It's meant to help you grow. You are protected, you are loved. And you are just a lovely person. I feel like your soul carried a lot of this innocence and loveliness attached, purity attached to the idea of love. You do want unconditional love, and you are going to get it. You're going to find a partner, just like you did in your last incarnation. You're going to find a partner that's gonna be there for you. Some of you might already have a partner. Think of a best friend that's always there for you. Think of somebody that you know since childhood that keeps coming back, or somebody that you keep thinking of and you collaborate maybe at work with and you have this sense of familiarity with. And it might not be anything sexual, but give it a try and see if it can turn into a romantic connection, okay? You guys already have this, and in divine timing, it will be activated, okay? Just like it happened in your past life. Those are the messages that I had for you. I hope you enjoyed this reading, pile number 5. Keep in mind it's a general reading, so if some things resonated but not all of them, feel free to get in touch with me to get your personal reading. I have availability until the 5th of June, until the full moon in Sagittarius. And all the details that you need to book a reading are down in the description box. Okay, guys, so not to bore you anymore with my self-advertisement, I'm going to send you on your way with lots of love and light. Bye, guys. Hey, pile number 6. We made it to your pile. So, guys, how are you? I hope this finds you well. I'm sending you so much light. This is for those of you that were drawn to the silver leaf. Silver leaf. Guys, English is not my first language, and speaking it in an environment that doesn't sometimes makes my grammar sound insane. So I apologize. I hope this entertains you nonetheless. Each pile got a different tarot deck, and you are no exception, my friends. So you are getting the Sun and Moon Tarot. And I also pre-shuffled some oracle cards for you, 3 in numbers. I will use these at the end to try and see if the themes from your past life can shed some wisdom or some light on your current present life. What are some things that potentially you need to know to move forward in your present situation, or to improve or to build upon based on your past life reading? Okay, guys, so let's do this. Please excuse me as I drink from my Ryan Gosling cup. Long day. Okay, so pile number 6. Oh my God. Pile 6, you were a judge. You were a judge. I want one more. Yes! And another one fell out. What the? This is spicy. Are you ready? Are you ready? Okay, so the first card that you got is Justice. This is the card that just immediately when I saw it, I was like, you were a judge. Prince of Cups next to it. The Magician, super powerful. You are a person with not really as much authority as the Emperor, but you were an outstanding member of the community. 2 of Wands, Dominion. There were some control issues here, some needing to manipulate how people perceived you. because I'll tell you in a second what happened. Ruin, sorrow, Three of Swords, sorry, change, Two of Pentacles. I'm really getting into it. Debauch, the Seven of Cups. Come on, I just want to get it out. So what happened is that you guys were an outstanding member of your community. You were a judge. You were a figure of authority, somebody that intimidated people very easily, potentially a Libra Sun. You were a man, 100%. And you lived in quite, I'm saying that you were a male judge, not because, only there is such a thing as only male judges. No. But during that time, and I feel like oh my God, my throat chakra is blocked. What's happening? You were very silent. Obviously, as a judge, you had to take into account a lot of opposing opinions all the time. You were in America, in the South, in someplace around 1880s, 1890. So, yeah, kind of like at the turn of the century, the industrialization era. But you were in a very traditional landscape. That's what I want to say. So that's why you were a man and male judge, and you were part of a very traditional culture, in that American South. I don't get necessarily a place. It could be anything from Kentucky, Tennessee, Alabama, something like that. Those are just some indications. Wow, and I got a flush of warmth in my cheeks as I said that. So yeah, any of those places, okay? The American South. You were a judge. You were an outstanding member of society. You basically had everything you wanted and could manifest it just by looking at a person. You didn't even need to speak. I feel like you were born with some sort of either throat or mouth problems, like you either had a lisp or you couldn't express yourself, or you needed to have a tracheotomy or something like that. I don't know. It's something that blocked your throat. I feel like your mother, for a very large part of your life, as she was nursing you and taking care of you, you had to take some sort of like really thick, gooey, greenish, brownish syrup, something like that. And that was supposed to help. It was a plant-based syrup that was supposed to help open up your throat so you can clearly speak and like ingest things as well, So there was something there. Maybe there was a blockage between, your digestive tract and your speech tract, something like that. All I'm getting is that, again, throat issues. Another pile had some throat issues, but those were connected to slavery. Your issues were just connected to some sort of like problem that you're born with, some sort of genetic malfunction. You overcame that, okay, with a lot of hardship. So you could have had a Saturn in Capricorn in the third house, potentially. So you had to train yourself how to speak, and you had to train yourself to listen to people very carefully. This made you acquire those skills that were necessary to become an impartial observer of reality. Okay, so I could see you, like the moment when I saw the cards and I saw this card, I could already see you standing at one of those judges' chairs, and looking across two separating viewpoints and hearing people out. A lot of people on wooden benches in front of you, very hot, like people would always like do this with their with the fans and with their hats when they were in the presence, because back then they didn't have air conditioning, and if you were judging in the South, summers can get really hot down there. So yeah, very kind of like musty atmosphere. I see you putting in long hours. I think you were wearing glasses and you had gray hair as well. And you were frequently dressed in black and white. You had the cloak, so the judge's cloak as well. The interesting thing is that you are actually quite an emotional person. No one actually knew this. I feel like you might have been a Cancer Sun in past life. You love tradition. You love being close to your mom, and you were, because of the fact that she also you were a sickly child, so she kind of had to take care of you more. So you developed this very strong bond with your mom. You're very close to home, very close to your house. I'm hearing plantation. Maybe you grew up on a plantation. A wealthy family. It was kind of like a legacy handed down from generation to generation. But you surprised everyone by choosing the path of law, which was not done in your family so far. However, it was well respected because it was still social status, right? Standing. You had two brothers as well. I feel like you were the youngest, okay? So you were the baby of the family as well. And you always felt like you needed to live up to everyone's expectations, but you also had a very sweet, nurturing side, mostly because you were so close to your mom, which is usually the case if you're the youngest in a family, and especially a boy. So, yeah, it's like the spicy thing that I saw in this is that you had an affair. This is a lot about, I don't know what's happening today, but a lot about materialism changes to spirituality, and a lot of people that had marriages, but they were not happy in marriages, and then they had all sorts of like lovers outside of them. So take it as it applies, guys, okay? This might resonate or it might not, but I feel like you had an affair. You generally fell in love with a woman that, how should I say it? She wasn't necessarily what society had in mind for a judge. I feel like she owned a bar, or she was also married to the guy who owned the bar. She would see a lot of the people that you ended up seeing in court as well. So you shared this common kind of work observation. Weird, because a lot of people that would drink in her bar would start fights, and then they would be arrested, put in jail, and then they would end up, having to go through that whole process. People would kill as well as they would stab each other. So that's why, there were trials in your court, and you had to make decisions based on that. And I feel that yeah, it's kind of like, do you see this? I feel like you had like really, really interesting, passionate moments with this person. It's like you had a lot of moments in nature, and this person really brought up this Prince of Cups energy that I saw in you. Like, you were a very passionate, emotional guy, but because of your profession, you were kind of keeping, you had to keep a poker face, right? So you were very concerned how people saw you, and you were really into controlling your public image, because you thought that, you can't be involved in a scandal, it would be ruin, and ruin, right? So it ended up actually coming up to the surface. There was some sort of indiscretion. I think that some people drove with the car by the creek where you would meet this woman, and kind of, engage in sexual activity with, by the light of the moon, somewhere in a beautiful natural landscape. And I think like some people one night saw you, some people that, like a family that knew you very well, and gossip started spreading around, and it was a situation that changed how people perceive you, because the problem was that you were married and she was married. So you were both cheating on your partners by being together. Or you weren't married, but she was married. I kind of get the feeling like she was married, and there was something there, about needing to juggle two options. That was a really big moment for the both of you, because you both wanted to be with each other. There was real love happening here, I mean, there was also kind of like Seven of Cups. The way I interpret the Seven of Cups usually means a lot of options, right? A lot of the illusions created, or daydreaming. But in this case, I feel like you generally loved each other. Seven is also spiritual love, right? That in your case actually ended up being sexual love next to a body of water, which is the realm of spirituality and emotions. But I feel this is also about gossip. So people in the neighborhood started creating these illusions around you, right? So they started gossiping of, oh my God, who I saw by the creek last night. You can understand this was a relatively small town, and gossip was spreading out really fast. So yeah, you gave people something really juicy to talk about. So it did tarnish your reputation, but it mostly tarnished hers as well, because you can imagine her husband didn't want to be cuckolded, right? And it was kind of difficult as well, because already being the wife of a barman or the bar owner wasn't really the best kind of association to have. I think that there was a period where there were a lot of like people in your community felt very restrictive and limiting, and they would boycott, you know, like they would say things in your court, like not respect your authority. They would throw things in the bar. There were men that came up to this woman and said like, well, if you sleep with other men, why don't you sleep with me too? You know, like disrespectful things like that. So yeah, people couldn't understand that you genuinely loved each other. They thought it was just like for fun. And it really brought you guys into a lot of pain and a lot of sadness. And yeah, ultimately, I think that what happened to the situation. So I do see here that there was a need to control the situation. So I think you enlisted the control of a lot of people that you had authority over. So you all of a sudden you said like, you know, enough. You cannot tarnish my reputation. I'm still a very powerful man. And you enlisted the police, and you kind of pushed their arm a little bit, and you were like, you know what, I want you to protect this woman, and I want the gossip to end, and I want you to find people that actually bring disrespect, you know. So you kind of used your power, not in the way it should be used, but you kind of control the situation. So I think this is what happened. I need to pull one more card because I don't really see the continuation of this story. I feel like the woman had to move away. I feel like the gossip in the town and the attacks and everything, well, you could protect her for a limited period of time. They eventually had to sell the bar and move to another place, you know. I feel like it was so sad because you generally wanted to be together, but and it ended up in, you know, failure and defeat, as you can see in these cards. Let me just see if I can focus it. Failure and defeat, right? Yeah, walking away, feeling like you lost, basically. You lost her, you lost. Okay, so you were a judge, a man in a past life, and you lost your love. You couldn't be together with your love. In this lifetime, you could be a woman. You might not necessarily be a judge. You could be somebody of a lower social standing, or you might be on the way towards becoming somebody important, like you're a med student, you know, and you're preparing to become a doctor, or you're studying law and you're preparing to become a judge, so on and so forth. Although I would be really surprised if law students watched tarot pickacard readings. Let me know, guys, okay? Please let me know. You would make my day. Okay, so we have here this connection, right, that you had in a past life. So you got to know love. You had this connection. It was really beautiful. So in this lifetime, I feel like you are meant to meet this person again because you were separated, and there is a sense of sorrow and defeat that you bring from your past life. There is also a sense of you were a leader in a past life, so you might actually feel the impulse towards attaining roles of high importance in society. You know, you might aspire to become somebody very like with a very strong reputation, but you might also be very careful. So you could be this person that doesn't put a lot of photos on Facebook. You might not even have a Facebook or an Instagram account because you're very aware that employers and the public peruses those, you know. So you're very sensitive to gossip in this current lifetime because of the karma from your previous lifetime and how it ended up ruining more like this your partner's reputation rather than your own. So I feel like you put yourself at the moment through necessary periods of self-discipline. You might meet people but then pull away from a love connection. You are unconsciously afraid that if you give in to love, you might experience a really big loss. And this is because of your past life, because of the fact that you had these, you know, you had this person and then you lost her, and it was so sad because it was the pressure of the community, what other people said, that got in the way of you being together with this person. Obviously it was also your guy's fault because she should have gotten divorced from that person and you should have married her, and then the situation would have been calmed down a little bit. But I'm not sure what divorce laws were back then in the South, in the American South, but I'm sure it wasn't an easy step forward, especially for a woman to be so bold and get divorced in 1880 or 1890, okay? So yeah, it was a lot of risk involved for both of you. And yeah, it's just so sad, okay? I really do want you guys to come together in this lifetime, and I really do want you to overcome any obstacle. So I am spreading a lot of love and light in this reading. Hopefully the energy will shift when you guys meet. So I want to see right now what your oracle cards are saying. I do feel very called to say that you might be very attracted to the novels of Carson McCullers. Maybe you read The Heart is a Lonely Hunter. And you're very attracted to that, to the American South for some reason, like you want to travel there, maybe to Louisiana. I think a couple of you might be drawn towards that area, or to Mississippi, you know, you might be drawn towards those parts, or maybe you have relatives, or maybe you were actually born there in this current lifetime as well. So just so you know, if this resonates with you, you have a previous past lifetime in the same place. Amber, give it to God. So these are your oracle cards. It says here, take a deep breath. And then exhale, release. Perfect. You need to release the situation to God for healing and answers. I think God separated you for a reason, and God will bring you back together in this lifetime. This is so much optimism. Amber is this resin that gets created in the juices of a tree, right? It's like fortified resin. So this is about time. This is about growth. This is about planting roots that actually, supersede lifetimes. For some of us, we die, and our children live longer than us. But some trees, like the sequoia trees that get to live hundreds of years, still remain planted as human lives unfolds for a couple of generations. So I feel like this is your story. It's kind of like the metaphor of a sequoia tree. It's like you guys, your connection is so well rooted. You are super spiritual, in a super spiritual and sexual romantic connection that keeps coming together lifetimes. You could be twin flames as well. There were a lot of obstacles, right? And we did see the Magician card here. And the Justice card. So this is about divine balance, and this is about the laws of manifestation. So again, you might put yourself in a necessary spiritual self-discipline during this lifetime because you want to manifest again your partner. And when you do, you'll feel this deep pull because you've shared previous love stories in your lifetime. And you will need to overcome a lot of social pressures and social, like people will always try to come into your relationship, whether it is that they're tempting you to cheat on each other, whether it is that they're blocking your marriage, or they're keeping letters or information away from each other, whether it is parents that are meddling in your connection. You will always encounter some obstacles, but I do think that with God's help, with God's protection, if you guys keep praying, and if you also try to live out your story, but following some sort of traditional path, like following the rules of society, but not really the gossip of other people. Does that make sense? So, as I said, in this situation, you guys, it would have worked if she would have separated from her husband, waited a little bit, and then got married to you, and then you guys were together. But it was the urgency that you needed to consume your relationship and the kind of like sexual passion and obsession that led to your downfall, guys. So if you meet in this lifetime, try to stick it out and follow the traditional pathway. That's the surest way that you guys will be together and will eventually overcome all this mean-spirited gossip, okay? Give it to God as well. Be patient and perseverant. Step out of your comfort zone. Exactly what I said. Your comfort zone might be instant gratification. So you need to step out of your comfort zone and be patient. Be patient, follow the traditional rhythms of nature and the rules of society, okay? In this way, you won't continue to anger the opinion or society, the anger of other people that will always want to intervene between you. But you might calm them down a little bit and allow them to just float away from you so that you guys can generally come together energetically. And finally, we have here elegance and patience. This fits so well. I'm always surprised how amazing they are. While I pre-shuffled the oracle cards, I did not look at them, and you saw me shuffle the tarot cards, right? So it's amazing that these messages fit so well. So as I was saying, elegance and patience. Be dignified, stand in your integrity, and have patience. This is gonna work out. You're meant to meet this person again, okay? So yeah. The spirit of a female bar owner from the American South will get reincarnated in the body of your current lover. So keep that in mind, okay, guys? That's the person you're gonna marry. And we have here, nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished, Lao Tzu. Yeah. Oh, you know who I was thinking of? It's kind of like, I don't know if you guys watch that series, Westworld. There is the character that is played by Thandie Newton, that kind of a person, that kind of an kind of maternal, kind of authoritative, bossy, but kind of sexy woman that is in some situation kind of tied into the conditions of her own role. But in that movie, she's more or less kind of like, holding, like basically she's the owner of a brothel, right? But in this case, it was just a bar owner. I don't think that anything sexually demeaning was happening there. So that's just to give you a clue as to what kind of a person I had in mind when I said that the spirit of a of a Southern American female bar owner is incarnated in your current lover. Let me know if you found this person already, or yeah. If not, be excited about meeting this person. It's going to be a really interesting love affair, and you guys know each other for more than one lifetime. So it's really, really important to be patient, to step out of your comfort zone, okay? Delay the gratification, give it to God, and it will manifest. I hope you guys enjoyed this message. This was a trip for me. I've been filming this video for the past 3 hours, I think, with a number of interruptions, but I'm really, really happy that I was able to create it for you guys. Let me know if you've enjoyed this. I can always make past life love story 3, okay? So come at me with your suggestions, with your love, with your comments, with everything you guys want to. If you want a personal reading, details down below. This was just a general reading. I love you guys so much. Please take good care of yourself during this time. And yeah, I'm sending you lots of love. Ciao.